Good morning and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute. Today I'm joined by Algared. How you doing, buddy?
Fairly well. How are you?
Good. You're looking HD today. Not 2-bit. Oh, 8-bit. I don't know. You can tell I have woken up, though. I am very...
He has woken up?
Little bit late today. I did not sleep too well.
I'm sorry you didn't sleep too well.
But, yeah.
It does suck when that happens, but
yeah.
that's life.
But
He was sitting at the beginning and he's saying, what have I forgotten? What have I forgotten? I have no idea what he's forgotten. But no doubt, sometime down the track, we'll go, oh, crap, that's what I forgot.
Yeah, 100%. ISC was a little late today, though, so that's kind of good. So they seemed to, just about 10 minutes before we started, that's out as well, so we got that to watch.
Yeah. I tend to think they were trying to get us, half an hour in or an hour into our stream and then put it out just to play with, just to screw with us.
Yeah, but we're streaming them.
We got you, Star Citizen. We're starting later. Ha ha!
That's it. Yeah, so we got that to watch, which is hence why we're going to prison in the title, and then we're also gonna take a look at how, because it was something that I was talking about during the week with you, with the dealing with profanity and stuff with the salvaging tool, and I think I know how they're gonna deal with it. So I think we'll talk about that.
Yeah, and I know when we were talking, it made sense.
Yeah.
So certainly the way we were talking, the kind of ideas we had when you were suggesting it just made like it was a no-brainer to me anyway. It just seemed logical.
Yeah. All right, got a few people in chat. Hey, Sean and Hammer Warrior, nice to see you guys. So yeah, we'll kick it off in a minute once we get a few people here with ISC. Oh shish, I even know what I forgot. I know what it was.
YouTube?
Do you know what it was? No, it was the bot. That's the bot. That's what it was. I forgot the bot. I was sitting here going, I know there's something I forgot, but yeah. So the bot.
Most important to have the bot.
Yeah, I've got to get the question bot up. That's what it was. I knew I was sitting here.
So great to see you guys.
There we go. Yep, she's good. So yeah, if you got questions, bot will be grabbing them now. Cool. I knew I'd forgotten something, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about today. I don't think. Oh, there was also the monthly report. We might have a quick look at that as well.
There was a monthly report.
I think the only big thing I saw on there was the in atmosphere flight being added back in.
Yeah, and there was the big clarification of when they were putting in the updates to Arena Commander, and they did say the snake bit's going into Arena Commander as well. So
really,
but yeah, according to the monthly report.
Well, that's low hanging fruit, really, isn't it? Yeah, it's just a it's just a copy paste job. Okay, no,
so that's going in, and I think they're reworking those tracks, but when it's going in the game, they've made a correction because they're yeah.
I'm just reading what Lisa Simpson Liberal said in chat. Astropub got old. you guys dress the same. Yeah, I get it. It's fine.
Now, Lisa, don't you go besmirching my barkeep. That's not a very nice thing to do.
So yeah,
says old man Simpson. Old man Simpson. Old man Hurston.
Yeah. So if you guys do have a question, drop it in chat, and we'll look at those after ISC.
Wait, that's right.
I think we'll start. I'll pop up the roadmap, and we'll have a quick gander at that while we wait for a few people to fill in before we kick into ISC. Did you see the episode me and Paul did on the PTV for the ship showdown?
Me? Of course I did.
Yeah.
Like what Paul was saying about the PTV and why the PTV is there, I'm going, yep. Like, it wasn't my support for the PTV was never just because it was the first vehicle we had. It was because the lore for it is just so deep.
Yeah. Which surprised me. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Well, when you consider it such a piddly little vehicle, to have such deep lore is just it blows your mind, and your kind of realization is, shit, someone had to write this. It really does go to that depth of where CIG want things to go. I think for everything to have such deep lore, but the PTV was a mining vehicle. It was made. The guy was absolutely shattered that he'd caused so many deaths, and so he basically over-engineered stuff to keep people safe. And so that was the idea of the PTV. It was a small mining vehicle.
I was kind of surprised. Like I know the law is not just for the PTV, but just the whole Grey Cat backstory was just like I even said in the video. I'm just so surprised someone actually went to the depth to make it that deep. But it needs to be like that to enrich it, doesn't it? So yeah.
Well, it's, you know, my favourite author is Tolkien. No brainer there for people who know me. But when you look at Tolkien, one of the reasons why his books were so great is because he'd been working on for so long, and the depth of the lore and the background is just so, it makes it feel it's real.
15 years, I think it was, before he released his first book. I read somewhere a long time ago. So yeah.
He'd certainly been working on it for a long time, and drafting and redrafting and that. So yeah.
So I think a few people will be happy about this one, which is the Arena Commander Classic Race Mode overhaul.
Algared, Orden, Steeler, and Allen.
All the maps. Improvements include a complete refactor of checkpoint entities. Yeah, so that's what we were saying about with the size of the rings. That's what I take out of that. Race management system, improved scoring, a complete rework of all New Horizons Speedway maps, as well as a new map, the Snake Pit, which is easy to do. The Devil has been added to the Arena Commander feature team. Yeah, I think that's kind of low-hanging fruit that they can kind of pick up. And I think I'm going to be honest. I think the Snake Pit, the success of that and people playing that has really spurred that on. I don't know how you feel.
And look, and I wouldn't be surprised if down the track we also see the go-kart track go in there as well.
True. No, that's a good point.
And I think the way in which Arena Commander is viewed now is different, because when it first came out, it was like the test bed. If you remember, it was Arena Commander. This is where we'll test everything before it goes into the big game. But now the big game is almost a test bed for. It's they're testing everything now. They don't need the smaller systems, and so Arena Commander is really just it's almost like something you could put on a console.
I thought this was already in the game. Isn't there an electronic pistol already in the game? Maybe I'm reading this wrong.
I think there's an electronic rifle in the game.
No. There's a pistol, because I have it equipped in my character currently. But maybe I'm mixing them up. But that's fine. So
there might be another one. And hi, Dutch. Good to see you. Lovely to have you with us. And Blamsmith. Oh, yep, Blamsmith. Good to see you here as well. So great.
Okay, so it sounds like they're basically adding vehicles to radar. Okay.
Well, that's not bad.
That's good. I would have liked to have seen this as on foot as well, so you can like ping in caves and stuff, because that was on the roadmap like a year ago now, and it just didn't make it. So, and then yeah, this is the big one though. Aerodynamic control surfaces, basically hover mode 2.3.4.0, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, giving basically ships that have less thrusters but aerodynamics advantages in atmosphere.
And hi, Biker Scout on Twitch. Good to see you. Lovely to have you joining us today.
Yeah. And then obviously they just kind of recant that they put it in the wrong spot for Arena Commander, so really it's not coming to 3.19, which will be next year.
And that's okay.
And that's fine.
For me, it's always, I don't really mind when they come, because it generally means the later it comes. It's like ships. If it comes later, it generally means it's a bit, the work on it's been better, or it's been a bit more polished or fixed. So it's nice when it comes early, but if it's delayed, it doesn't matter.
Real quick, we'll have a look at the ship showdown. Got 10 days left for submissions. Have any of these jumped out at you? That one's actually pretty funny. Redeemer as a shark, but yeah, I've looked at these the last few days, but there hasn't been too many. There was one that someone did of the PTV. They actually had a 3D print of the PTV.
There's been a couple of
there we go. There it is.
PTV ones.
This one here. This is by Athmon. He's a guy on our Discord, so give him a bit of a shout out. But yeah, I think he did pretty well.
Yep.
Better than most people who've just done screenshots anyway. So.
Although he has said, hey, there's a Lego version of the PTV, and he said, hey, that's even better than mine. So he's actually said, go upvote the Lego version, but go upvote both of them.
I like how he put the crown on it, like it's already.
Yeah, I think that's a bit presumptuous. Obviously he's not really saying it's the king; he's saying it's a prince.
Yeah.
but it's certainly the first among equals, in at least the first among everything, because it was literally the first usable.
That guy went on a bit far. He's got tattoos, but okay.
Yep.
Oh wow! This is the Lego one. Wow.
That's the Lego 400i, but two more along to the left.
Yeah, actually.
That's the Lego one.
Yeah, this is no, it won't open for some reason. It just keeps going 404. But yeah, that looks awesome.
So.
All right. Paper arrow, pretty good. Lego hurricane, and I got City for a while, so I think I'm gonna we'll move on to ISC. I think so. Get started on that.
And if you have joined us on Twitch, say hi. Lovely to see who's here. I know Biker would love some company.
All right. I'm gonna switch this over for Algared. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
I am really not awake today. That one. All right, here we go with ISC.
The stand system has seen many changes since the persistent universe first came online. It's grown, expanded, been reshaped and reformed, and it continues to evolve with each successive patch. And while the upcoming Pyro system and our journey to 4.0 is a big focus for everyone around, it's important to keep an eye on the present and continue to iterate on and improve upon what's come before. And this week's show focuses on the work of the mission feature team in doing just that. Now up first, Space Station Correa, old stalwart of PvP in the stand system, is about to get a makeover both in looks and in restored purpose.
Back in its heyday, Correa used to be this big central hub for PvP,
which has multiple entrances and exits, and is just perfect for that kind of gameplay.
When we added the UGFs and added some of the security depots where you could go and hack away your crime stat, kind of took away from Correa's unique PvP draw.
So, Algared, my first question is, so they're making it even harder to remove crime stats? Like, there are new people that get into this game that the worst experience is their first experience, because I've seen so many new people come in and they make a mistake and they just end up in prison. You saw this,
the prison system is so crappy at the moment.
Well,
like
think of last week.
Idea, but it's crappy.
Think of last week. We were stuck there for over an hour. We did the mission.
You were stuck there for over an hour.
We did the mission. We did the mission twice, and it reset the timer.
Yeah.
That's how bugged it is. It's just not a fun experience being in prison. It's a punishment, but the thing is, there's no reason to actually be a criminal at the moment. They need to fix that. And as I said, like, the prison's not a fun experience. Do you know what? I would love to see the ratio of people that log out in prison, and I bet you it's astronomically high, because people just like, I'm not waiting for half an hour. Stuff this, I'm out.
Yeah.
And we've decided that we want to give players a taste of what a Correa used to be like.
Correa is a security outpost that was meant for Crusader security to kind of have as their base of operations. Unfortunately, it ended up not being fit for living and working there.
It's been abandoned by Crusader. The uses the player can have there is there's a few missions they can take there to kill, stragglers, nine-tails. They can go there to hack away their crime stat. There's some loot there as well, so players do go there to loot.
However, now, if you approach Correa, you're going to immediately notice Crusader has moved in at this point.
They're going to be using this facility as it was intended. And the way they're doing this, and we're doing this to hopefully entice PvP at this location, is we're firstly beefing up the exterior security of Correa.
You will be met with new online turrets that will not be too happy with you arriving.
It's now going to be even harder for people to...
Unless there's a thing directly after this talking about prison, this is all bad news to me from a new player perspective. It was bad when they added the turrets to start with. For new players.
When they said this had been abandoned by Crusader, that wasn't true. It was that they were trying to get it online and they were having trouble getting it online because, as I understood it, the criminals were hacking into the system and causing it to shut down or do other stuff. And so it wasn't that they'd abandoned it, it was just that they couldn't get it. It was in their final stages of getting up and running, and so...
Well, it does say, like, doing time, so I'm assuming the other half of this is, like, some kind of thing at the other side talking about how they're going to fix it or something, but...
Yeah, you get killed at Correa and you go to prison.
Yeah, I wouldn't have started with this, I would have ended with this if I was doing the show, but yeah, we'll see.
Approach and land. When you get there to land, you might find some enemies on the landing pad to thwart your infiltration of Correa.
Wow, so this is way harder.
When you're inside Correa, there'll be Crusader security all around that you'll have to take out if you want to use that station.
So this has just told me now, don't go to Correa, go to one of the other security ones because there'll just be a bunker mission and it'll be easier.
This is, and this is Siege of Orison 2.0. It's Siege of Orison, but, you know, you've got the Crusader there, you're fighting Crusader. It's a criminal's haven. It's not, you know, law-abiding citizens aren't going to be going there to fight Crusader or to get their crime stats done. So it really is, you know, you want to be a Ninetales lackey, then that's your play area.
After killing a few of them, a security chief will spawn.
Now, if you take this guy down and you look around, he will have a security code on him.
You can take his datapad off, operate his terminal, and then start this contraband dispenser.
It's a device that goes into Correa's storage facility and pulls up contraband that was deposited by the law enforcement.
And the great thing about that is...
So they've basically just gone and taken Jumptown and added it to Correa and basically killed the only place you could go to very simply remove your crime stat.
Yeah, so, and added the type of gameplay from
Jumptown.
Well, even the Siege, because you kill the boss, you get his security code, you put it in, so, yep.
Yeah, I don't know, I got red flags, but we'll keep going.
We've got some highly valuable drugs in the game. We're making even more highly prohibited and expensive goods, as well as scrap. We'll throw some worthless rubbish in there, so it's an absolute gamble.
You'll still be able to wipe your crime stat there. That is always going to be wanted at Correa. But the new thing we've done is we've removed the UGF crime stats. You will no longer be able to go to a UGF to wipe it.
Obviously, that's going to focus criminals and like luring.
What's a UGF?
I'm
I've
not
no
sure.
idea. Can someone tell me what a UGF is?
Hopefully it's not the the other smaller locations.
Yeah, because if it's all the other small locations, that's just made it so bad for new people.
Yeah. Hey, come to Correa where you can do your crime stat, but be shot by everything.
Yeah, underground facility. Oh, great. So that's made it even worse because it means, like, so it's back to the time where if you accidentally bump into somewhere at ArcCorp, and you get a crime stat as you're landing, yeah, you're going to go all the way back to... No.
Yeah.
So they just made prison worse. All right, yeah, cool, thanks. Appreciate it.
No, they haven't made prison worse. They've just made the...
They have made it worse, because you're going to go there more You're going to go there more frequently.
Because
Algared, why would I go all the way back to the other side of the system when I could just go to prison? Because not only do I have to go all the way to the other side, I've got to buy guns, I've got to buy a Tiger Claw and blah, blah, blah. It's like, man, I'll just kill myself and log out. That's what I'm going to do for now.
As I was going to say, they haven't made prison worse. They've made the player experience worse.
Prison sucks. Whatever. They've made it more common. Anyway, yeah, I'm annoyed. Can you tell I'm annoyed? I'm annoyed.
Yeah, I can tell you're annoyed.
There was a roleplay of law enforcement into that area, but we decided that still wasn't enough.
Oh, no, not enough!
We'd been looking for a way to give players their first ever kind of player-triggered mission.
When this location goes under attack, which is when a certain amount of the AI that are defending the location are killed, and broadcast will be put out to all bounty hunters, anyone who is a lawful player, to come to this location and remove the...
But 90% of unlawful players got there because of your buggy shit. Anyway.
...threat at that location. However, don't get greedy and pick up any of the contraband. You might just be marked as one of those bad players.
So I think players who've been with us for a while will be really excited to hear what we're doing with Correa.
This is going to pull everyone to this one location to have battles.
No, CIG, I'm not excited by what you're doing with Correa. I think you're off your rocker.
Yeah.
Yes, you're kowtowing to the PvP. You must PvP me, PvP with me, or you're ruining my game for fun type people. But you're screwing it for anyone who does a mistake. You're screwing it for new players. You've taken away the easy ways to get rid of crime stats. You're as Execute was saying. Why the beep am I going to do it?
Why would I do it? Because there are going to be people there to kill me. I have to spend money to buy the guns to go there. I've got to buy armor to go there, all that type of stuff. And then I'm just going to die anyway. And you're going to take the travel time into account. So I'm just going to kill myself and log out. That's all I'm going to do.
And
Stupid.
when you have killed X number of the bad guys, you've killed the security guys in there so you can get your crime set done. The broadcast goes out that pulls everyone else in to kill you. No, I'm sorry. I think I agree with you.
It's great for PvPers, but I'm always sitting here for the new people.
Yep.
And like almost every new person I play with, they don't know how to fly the ship, so they accidentally clip into something and get a level 1 crime stat, and the Port Alisai just blast the shit out of them, or whatever
And
station.
they go, what happened to me? Why am I in this place? I agree.
Level 1 crime stats should not get you shot at. They should just go, you must pay this fine within 1 hour or something like that. And then it escalates to a level 2 crime stat, right?
Yep.
And that's fine. I've got no problem with that. But
I'd even go as far as saying level 3 should be where you start getting shot at. Level 2 is kind of, hey, you've done something bad, the security's going to come after you, but and try and arrest you and say, hey, stand down, give you a chance to surrender or whatever, or pay your fine. But what we're doing, it sounds great for PvP, but it's BS for every other player in the game. Thank you, CIG, for screwing the game.
What Dawnstealer said there, anything non-violent should be fines. I totally agree with that. So if you accidentally clip a ship, and the other thing is it should be equivalent to the damage you did. So if you just like clip a turret or something like that, because like the other day, what actually was in the other stream was when I clipped that turret with my landing gear. I was playing with John, right? You didn't see this, but I clipped my turret as I was going into a station, and I still managed to get in there, and the doors closed behind me, and then the doors reopened, and the turret started firing the shit out of me. Long story short, they charged me $41,000 to repair the ship, $16,000 to remove the fine, so we're up to what $57,000, and then the ship didn't get repaired, but it took the money. And then so I had to also respawn the ship, which took another half an hour or 25 minutes or something. It was insane.
In Twitch, Bear said, sounds punishing, but if you don't want to do the time, you don't do a crime. But the problem is you can get crime stats for not doing the crime.
Very innocent little mistakes that would not be that, like, as we're saying, the ones that they've got marked at, like, tier 1s and possibly tier 2s. I agree with what Dawnstealer said there. Anything non-violent should just instantly be a fine, and then you just put a timer on it. Like, if you don't pay this fine... And by the way, how many new people do you know that have $16,000? Like, the game, like, most... So what is it? An Aurora package comes with $5,000. They can't even pay the fine. Maybe lower the fine down to like $500 for the first offence. Because to be honest, the punishment is going to pay the fine. You've got to go out of your way, land at a station that you can't land at in most cases because it shoots you. Like, it's just so dumb. Have they not played this game? Like, how do you pay a fine that you can't land at the place to pay the fine for?
Well, you've got to remember there are several PvP morons who do work for CIG. And I'm sorry, if you're a PvP person and love PvP, PvP's great. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against PvP. I just don't want to be forced into having to do PvP all the time. And this, to me, sounds like you are forcing new players to have to...
I'm hoping the other half of this is literally them talking about how they're changing the entire crime system, because this first half sounds disgusting. Like, they've just turned it up to 11. So I'm hoping this last half, we're halfway through, this last half better be, oh yeah, we're changing the rates at which you get crime stats. Because if it's not that, after last week, Ooh,
God help
okay.
new players.
Yeah, God help me, man. All right, here we go.
God help new you may as well start new players in the prison system because that's where we're going to be. Start them in prison because screw it, they're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, that's
Take it for ship, bang, prison.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
It's open, it's functional, and it's going to serve as a dangerous hotspot for both criminal and lawful players alike.
Restoring Correa to its former glory is just one of several steps being taken recently to provide improved opportunities for PvP combat in the persistent universe. And we're going to check in on its visual makeover as it progresses later this quarter. But now, let's turn our attention to prisons, or maybe just one prison in particular. That home, too often a home for those who break Stanton's laws intentionally, or who just stare at an elevator the wrong way. Let's go back to the mission feature team and discuss the ways they're currently exploring to bring new ways of escaping Kleischer's all too familiar grasp.
So
At
currently
least
in prison,
that
there are 4 ways
Hang
to
on.
get out. You can wait.
Sorry, what'd you say?
At least that showed, from Disco's comments there, showed that they're aware that you get into prison for doing nothing. You know, staring at an elevator the wrong way, you end up in prison, and that is the real big problem with what we're doing with Correa, isn't it?
Well, if you look at the one that happened to me last week, I was just at the end of Siege of Horizon. There was no warning because it was the end, and I got a level 2 crime stat for nothing. And they've actually said that you won't get a level 2 crime stat next time it's on. But like, it was just, it just comes back to the whole thing. I'm not even thinking of myself. I'm thinking of new people.
Yeah.
That new player, like every person I've played with that's ended up in prison, they instantly just leave. Like, they leave.
They're saying, "Why am I here? What have I done?"
No, but as a new player, why ending your experience? You want to end it on a high note when you're leaving in frustration. Like I got a friend that I play with. He ended up in prison, and that was 6 months ago, and he's never come back. Never. Like he just doesn't want to play anymore. Like you literally. It's just the worst experience because you can't you feel like you're being punished, but you didn't do anything wrong. There's no. You know, oh, you kind of stuffed up there, pal. Yeah, we'll let you off on a warning because it's the first day you've ever been here, or, you know, like, just, I don't know. Like, it's oversight. And I think this is a part of them working on the game, but not, like I know there's a certain order things have to come in, right? But at the very, like it can't be that hard to go back in and just go, right, these ones are currently set at a level 1 crime stat. And then basically you don't actually go to like get shot at until you're like level 2 or 3 stars. That's really a couple of, I'm hoping only a couple of lines of code that needs to be changed. But yeah, if they're looking at this system, it just needs to be done. I'm sorry. I feel like
I think if they're looking at it and saying,
I feel like we're repeating ourselves, but like it's just so frustrating.
I think it shows how much we don't really like what they're proposing or doing, and it's not that we're against the ideas. I want areas to be, in a sense, like Correa. Like one of the things that did make Correa good in the early days, it did give PvP players a place to go and do PvP.
Yeah, but by the same thing, they need somewhere for new players to go so they can get rid of it easily. Because like that's super advanced now. They've just taken Correa from like a place where you could land that maybe had a few people. And by the way, think about how we've had to drop people off at Correa for the last 2 years. Fly in and they jump out the back because of the turrets. Why were the turrets even there? It's so out of your way. Like no one goes to Selin for almost anything other than get rid of a crime stat. And it's so out of the way. Like it's just such a lack of foresight. But anyway.
Well, that's because Crusader have no idea how to police the system. That's why they put their police station so far out of the way. But yeah, I get the frustration. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling that frustration myself, and All
right.
You can mine. You can escape.
See, the escape thing is useless too because you still got the crime stat. So complete waste of time. Like unless you can get out of there and not have the crime stat, what's the bloody point?
And
because you're going to literally go from here to Korea to get rid of it anyway.
And even a law factor at the moment, like if you've noticed when you leave prison, it says, you know, hey citizen, No, not citizen, civilian. You know, you lose your civilian, you lose your citizen status.
Yeah.
And whether that's going to be something that happens, you know, the current laws in Star Citizen are if you're a criminal or have a crime stat, or have been a criminal, you cannot be a citizen, which means you cannot vote in the elections, you cannot run for office, you cannot do X, and all those advantages you get as being a citizen are lost.
So I got to say this before it goes off the screen. So Merchant Engineer says, no one in my org trades or mines anymore because the only part of the game that kind of works is PvP. The whole game has become Jump Town and we're all sick of it. Yeah, I can't disagree more because there's just punishments for everything and no rewards. It's like I said, they unless it is equal pirate and equal good guy, it's not balanced and it doesn't work.
Yeah. But you've got a PvP because if you don't PvP, you're ruining my fun.
Yeah, more and people are just going to check out. But we'll see.
Yep.
And finally, we added a mission where you can go and repair.
That doesn't work. It resets your time and a waste of
things for Kleisha, and they'll give you merits for doing so. But we don't believe that's enough variety, so we're working on more ways to complete your sentence.
The prison caves in particular can feel like quite a lonely place. You know, they're very dark, very damp. The likelihood of running into players is not particularly high, especially because there's 3 different routes.
So straight out of the gate, the first thing
we're going to add NPCs to kill you and stuff you up.
Oh man, all I read that is more ways to bore me, more ways to punish me. But you know, let's have a look.
Yeah, but
investigating is NPC prisoners in the caves. Currently, the caves are pretty empty. The only person in there is Auralia, and we want to expand that to have these. You'll be able to hopefully kill them if you want to risk the crime, and they might have some things that might help reduce your sentence.
We also wanted to provide more sandbox opportunities for earning merits. So some of you have noticed there's stashes dotted around.
The other thing I got to ask is, like, both these things you've mentioned has more AI, but the AI doesn't work properly. Almost like even bunker missions, they're like desyncing all over the shop. So I'm not seeing it. This seems too soon again, just like jail itself. But we'll see.
You know, and putting you know, AI spawning inside a wall so you can't shoot them or kill them or finish the mission. So yeah.
Dawn Stella, just stop typing in capitals and your messages will stop being deleted.
Tunnels.
They can contain items that you could have bought previously from the vending machine, and they can also find themselves contraband items like prison shivs. We're looking at ways to have a system where players can bring back contraband and other prison wanted items and be rewarded for it.
Yeah, but if you get caught with them, it'll extend your sentence. So is it worth it?
Well,
I don't think
they even
so.
said that in Correa. You pick up a contraband, you get a crime stat.
Yeah.
You could, you know, so more ways to make accidental mistakes.
The new guy runs in there and accidentally picks up something and then instantly becomes
picks up an awesome gun that's contraband and gets bang. I'm suddenly a criminal. Yeah.
It just looks like more reasons to stuff up, but not enough payoff. But yeah, here we go.
We also want to investigate adding a reward for players taking out violent inmates. This will help clean the prison up and stop them from causing a ruckus, and it will also provide, you know, the model prisoners more ways to legally and preferably pay off their crimes to society. And for those who don't want to serve their time, we're adding a new mission into the prisons.
All criminals caught end up in Kleisha, and there's lots of vital information to be recovered from there.
In a certain depth, in a certain cave, we're adding what is known as a black spot, where outside entities can contact you and ask you to do work inside of the prison.
In doing so, they will be rewarded very handsomely.
It's always great when we get to revisit locations and missions after getting player feedback, and this won't be the last of updates you'll find in the prison experience.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that folks with a fondness for the old days of Correa have something familiar to look forward to. That Kleisha may finally get some NPC population to better obscure the same familiar faces that I keep seeing in there week after week. You know who you are. And that even with a major focus pushing ahead, it's important we look back, iterate on what's come before, and continue to evolve all aspects of Star Citizen along the way. Now don't forget that Ship Showdown has begun, and it's your chance to advocate for the best of the best in Star Citizen ships and vehicles for a chance to win exclusive paints and prestige, and for us to bet internally on how we think you'll vote. I was so close last year. For Inside Star Citizen,
You
I'm
weren't
Jared
so
Huckabee,
close, Disco.
here in the Bond.
Sorry, Algared.
I said you weren't so close, Disco.
What was he got? Was
Sorry.
it the Genesis
Hey,
Star?
well,
lineup,
he wanted the Carrick, I think. But
no, his favorite ship's the Genesis Star lineup. But anyway.
Warehouse, our neighbors at the new Manchester goods yard, who were kind enough to let us in when the rain showed up. We'll see you all next week from who knows where.
I'm gonna say this as simply as I can. Out of all the ISCs I've watched in my 10+ years covering this game, that is the most angry I've ever been.
I think that's the most frustrated I've ever been.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's not at the ISC. It's
No.
that it actually needed to be fixed, and they've just made it worse. And it's been that way for like ever since Prisons came in. It just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I even said at the time they need something on the console where I can just go, I want to opt out so I can just actually go back to playing the game. Like they feel they're adding more things that you can play within Prison, but if you don't want to be there and your friends are outside, you've just killed an entire game session.
You've killed a whole group. If you're playing with a group of friends, have logged on to play, and a couple of them are stuffed up, or one of them stuffed up, and they're in prison, you've actually stuffed the whole group's play.
Yeah, I think in chat, Dutchmut says, out of disappointment. Yeah, I am. I'm really just I just don't understand how they don't have that foresight to understand. Like, I'm like, you saw it on stream last week, how frustrating that was, right? And then, like, you put a new player in that situation. Like, I'm a content creator, I've got to stay around, you know. But a new player's just got to walk away, and then some people will just get a refund and never come back, you know.
Yeah, like, you know, we're heavily invested in the game. We'll hang around just because we are.
Yeah,
we're content creators. You know, we love the verse. But this just seems putting the cart before the horse. You know, it just.
Yeah, and we said that exact word phrasing when the first Prison came out, didn't we? And I think it's been a priority for a while. And I think we would all agree. I think it was Dawn Stellar that said it earlier. That needs to be a priority. That if you do a non-violent crime, they need to look at the refactor of those stars. And if you get a 1-star rating, it's not a shootable offense. It's so you can go pay your fine off. Like
it doesn't even lock you out of the landing zone.
Real life, hang on, Aaron. If I go through a red light in I don't drive, but if I go through a red light in real life, the cop doesn't just pull me over and cat me in the head and go, well, stuff you. You know, I go into. Like I get a letter in the mail and then I have to go pay the fine. And this is the complete opposite. It's like, well, you stubbed your pinky. We're gonna put a cap in your house. Like it just makes no sense. Like it's just overkill.
100% agree.
And do you know the other way they can fix it? If they don't want to stuff with all the stars around, have that pay your fine app on your Moby Glass so you can fly away and pay the fine. And I think quite honestly, as long as it's non-violent. Even if it goes up to like 3 stars or whatever, even if you've blown up multiple ships but no one's died, that's fine. You should be able to pay it at your Moby Glass. They just need to. It's just overkill. It's not fun. Like if you're doing mining with your group and it just I remember we were doing events, right? There's an Australian server that does events, and the number of times someone has had to waste an entire hour to go to prison or some shit to get rid of some stupid crime stat because they did a little mistake while we were setting up is astronomical.
Yep.
Like every week without fail.
Yep. You know, and I can't say I disagree. It really does come across as frustrating. It really does. Yep. To me.
Oh, by the way, I know what our show's going to be about this week. If you haven't figured it out already, it's going to be a rant on this. I shit you not, because this is one of the worst things I've ever seen. And I'm going to try and pull it. Like Paul's there tomorrow, isn't it? So we'll pull in Paul and talk about it with Paul.
We'll have Paul there tomorrow. Yep.
That was not what we had planned. I know, but like it's really evident after this ISC that someone needs to shake the tree. And I'm gonna put the message out to a few of the other content creators too, because I think it's about time they need to fix this shit.
And how often is it that we that we go on an absolute rant. Like I think the last rant we went on, last two rants we went on was the Nomad, which we didn't think was a great ship, just because we didn't like it for X, Y, and Z. But even the game pack it came out with was that, and that was
we don't tend to get into the drama though, do we? We tend to have a level-headed approach, but this has just gone on too long now, and they're now making it worse. They have looked at it with a PvP lens, and they didn't even look at it from a new player experience.
Yep. Well, they haven't even looked at it from a PvE lens. It's just, it really is just PvE all the way. It's just PvP, PvP.
But it's a backward step too, because they've also removed all the other underground service facilities and pushed them into Correa. So anyone that makes a mistake is forced into PvP. People are just going to opt out. You've just ended everyone's session.
I would have even liked it if because that was the place you had to go to get rid of level 5 crime stats, so that your career criminals who want to do that, it forces them there. But
that's actually
other areas where
Algared,
the low crime stats can go.
Algared, you just stumbled on a really good idea there. There should be 5 locations that escalate in where you need to go. That makes so much more sense. And that means, like, if you want to go to the level 5 area, you can technically remove a level 1. You can remove a level 1 there if you really want to, but that would make it so there's at least 5 places around the verse that you can go, and they all step up, So that's the top one, because it's got ships and people and turrets and blah, blah, blah. And then say something like level 2, level 1 is just go pay your fine. Level 2 might be you've got to go to a particular facility that's just got automated turrets, so you've got to avoid the turrets and you're done. The next area is a level 3 and you got turrets and NPCs, and then 4, I don't know, whatever. Somewhere you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you go in increasing levels, because not everyone is going to wants to go do the PvP. Not everyone necessarily wants to go and have to fight the law enforcement to get rid of a crime stat.
Yeah,
like a lawful player who's managed to accrue a crime stat doesn't necessarily want to go in and have to shoot up the law and increase their crime stat to get rid of a crime stat. That's insane. What moron? Seriously, what moron thought of that idea?
Yeah, and in a game that's kind of like only half built, and what I mean is, like, if you play this game as a pirate, like if you look at Xenothreat, there was no reason to play as a bad guy at all in that. There was no, like, the Siege of Orizon, there was no bad guy stuff in that. The one they brought in, I think, was the one where the what was the one where they had the blockade? I forgot the name of it. Lockdown, right? You could play as a bad guy, but there was no real benefit to it. You didn't get paid nowhere near enough, and it would generally be you versus 20 other good guys. It was just a stupid thing.
And even the way that was designed was that as a bad guy, you were on diminishing resources. So it was supposed to get harder and harder and harder as it went on, and to the point you were failed.
Do you know what this feels like when I look at it from the outside? It's streamer content. It's like they've made it so streamers have got something to show off, and it forces people to interact with the streamers. That's what it feels like. But there should be literally, like, as I said, if you get into prison, they just need to add a button, like an opt-out button to that terminal. I don't want to do this. I'm not having fun. Like, opt out until they add the stuff in, so people can actually do both sides of it.
I don't even think it is as much for the streamers and forcing people to play with streamers. It is a particular type of streamer. It is the PvP streamer. Like, if John Citizen was streaming, he'd be streaming mining and stuff.
Yep.
That doesn't force, it's not something that's forced, it really is just that PvP focus. And that, to me, is the thing that I'll admit that has always been my fear. But this would end up being a moronic, stupid, Eve copycat.
We haven't even got into the prison itself, because in that video, they've literally just said, now there's more risky things you can do in prison that essentially will keep you there longer. That's how I heard that as. And I was just like, so now I'm going to go into the tunnels where I have to go do those missions that you're forcing me to do, and I'm going to run into NPCs that'll possibly kill me. Like, I'm not going to kill them, because if I kill them, my time's going up. If I kill them and I grab a shiv, does my crime stat go up? Do I accidentally take that back through the metal detector? But if I get it through, I can sell it for money. So what they're essentially saying is they're giving you reasons to go to prisons for profitability. I get that, right? There are people that are going to want to go there and live that lifestyle, but there's not enough missions there to do that even. Like it's just boring.
Look, I considered at one point having a character that just stayed in prison and just built up the prison credits to trade them off and do stuff.
Yeah.
But it certainly wasn't the thing I wanted to do all the time. But I can see that's kind of building that type of, you want to be a career criminal or a career prison lifer type guy. Been great. But yeah, I'm pretty certain that the viewers that we've got can hear the frustration in our voices.
Yeah, I feel like we're going in circles. I really do. But you and I do this when we get frustrated. We just keep venting. That's how me and Algared are. We're out rather than holding stuff in people. But it just, yeah.
But I think if our regular viewers would know, there's very few times when we really go and say this is stupid, and I think this is stupid. To me, it's just feed the PvPers. Oh, we got to feed the PvPers. We got to feed the PvPers.
Yeah.
Screw that. Look after your whole community. Don't just look after this small microcosm of idiots who just want a PvP. And I'm sorry if you like PvP. I'm not calling you an idiot. It's just those who just focus solely on that, and if you don't PvP, you're ruining my gameplay.
I feel like I'm going to have to get on Twitter and message Luke Presley now and just say, can you please give why you were at it before you do anything you mentioned in ISC, can you please give the crime stats an overhaul? Because they must have stats on new players that log out. They must have stats on the number of people that accidentally clip something. But because they're looking at data and not actually what happened, I think it's all fine. But anyone that saw last week, anyone that's accidentally clipped something, the sheer number of times, I remember if you accidentally landed in ArcCorp, you got a level 1 crime stat. So if you come down slightly too hard and your nose of your ship just touches the ground, that's an instant crime stat. You've damaged the facility. And I remember the doors closing right in my face, and then I had to fly all the way off. And what if you didn't have enough fuel? I didn't even get into that, but I had to fly all the way off back to Correa and fix my crime stat, and then I had to come all the way back. It was just
landing a reclaimer in Hurston, and the reclaimer deciding, getting caught in the no-flow zone and being taken over automatically, and then suddenly being flipped on its head because the automatic pilot had taken over and couldn't control the ship. And it lands you on a landing pad, and the timer goes, and you get a crime stat.
If you guys have any suggestions, by the way, for how they could fix this, let us know in the question thing. I know it says it's not really a question, but just because obviously I can see other people venting in chat as well. So if you want to kind of get your ideas out there, let us know.
And I do want to clarify my comment, idiots who want PvP, because Rooster said idiots who want PvP, and I'm talking about those who just say, who just want PvP, and if I'm not PvPing with them, I'm ruining their gameplay. And you come across that attitude time and time again, and those people are the idiots who just want PvP.
You can't force someone to PvP. Do you know what they're going to do? They're just going to log out. They're going to check out. The game's not ready for it yet. It's like I said, they're trying to make views for streamers, and I'm sure it'll look good on paper. But as I said, most people, like myself, every time I end up in prison, it wasn't something I did. It was either a bug or a mistake. Like when I clipped a turret with the landing gear of a Hercules. And if you've ever tried to land a Hercules in one of those hangars, it literally fills the hangar. It's like trying to land a Carrack. You've literally got a 2 meter clearance in the hangar of a Carrack. So if you actually, and now they all come in vertically, those turrets should be down or off to the side or something, because literally you're coming in at a level and you got to go over them and then down and then into the door, right? Stupid design. So they just need to, it's quality of life stuff, and I just can't believe they.
And for older players, that the learning curve is really steep as well. So
and you hear that. You hear that from
fly, bang, bang, bang. But new players are going, oh crap! What the hell am I doing?
Every content creator that comes into this. So I'm thinking of a video I watched of Level Cap. He literally did a video of 10 things they need to fix in Star Citizen, and almost everything he mentioned were new player experience stuff. because it's just got
Yep.
such a high ceiling now. And I know they've brought out tutorial videos and stuff like that, but they're all temporary, and with 6 months they're out of date. You know,
Yep.
It's got to start with a quality of life change.
Oh, and the one thing someone said, who said it in chat, Dawnstealer, and he's right. The positive thing that this does to Correa is it does make it a PvP magnet. It does make it a place where if you want to do PvP, you can go there and you know you're going to get PvP.
Yep.
Even if you start off as doing PvE and killing the security guys, you know that it's eventually going to draw players to that location, and that is an awesome aspect.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right? It's awesome. That is a great aspect.
That's awesome if you want it, but Algared, as I said, most people.
But the problem is
they'll just check
they're
out.
Actually making it so that it's the one location where you can actually do the.
I'm not even going to interact, Algared, and most people won't. If they don't want it, they're just going to kill themselves, go to prison, and log the fuck out. Do you know what's actually going to happen? I reckon the number of accounts are going to go up because I got a prison on this account. Well, I'll log into account number 2, and I can just play the game again. That's what they'll do.
But
it's just annoying.
So it is really feeding that you must PvP if you want to play the game. You must PvP with me or you're ruining my fun. The problem is, and the thing that attitude always fails to take into account, it doesn't flip it.
So I'm reading from chat.
Flip it so that.
I'm reading from chat here. So Fishy2951 goes, but now every crime stat is going to be forced to choose to PvP or sit in prison watching anime.
Yep. You know, but when you flip that on its head, that you must PvP with me or you're ruining my fun, they don't like the idea, you must PvE with me or you're ruining my fun. They don't get that if they force someone to PvP, they're ruining that person's fun.
Yeah.
And if you can't flip the term, if you can't flip the situation and both be true, then it's a BS argument. Often the argument is you must do this, otherwise you're ruining my fun, without taking into account you are ruining someone else's fun.
Yeah.
And that's what I really hate about that PvP, and that's what I mean by the idiots who want PvP. That's
the best way to look at something. You should be able to flip it, and it goes the other way. And at the moment, there's no way to get out of it. You're forced into it. I think forcing someone that made a mistake into PvP is really, really bad. And the fact that they've now removed all the other, like it's literally a backward step, because there was only one and you had to fly all. It's not even centrally located. That's the worst part. So if you're in ArcCorp or Microtech, you got to fly all the way there, and now they've removed it from all the other banker missions. Are they insane? Because they want to force PvP. They haven't. It's not going to force PvP. All you've done is force mass logouts and killed multiple game sessions with friends.
Yeah, I'll go to prison. I'll just go to prison. I'll go to a station. In fact, I've done this in the past when I've had a crime stat and I can't get rid of it. I've just gone to a station, let the law kill me, go to a prison system, go to prison, log out.
All right, let's
do that.
Let's do some questions, because we are literally on like the 5th revolution of ranting about this shit. It's so frustrating.
Okay, so last week we had a question before we went by Black Hunk.
He made a post.
Black Dream Hunk, and he had a post from Yogi Clat, and he said, "Hey, what do you guys think about Yogi Clat's?"
I've got it up here.
Well, while you're getting it up, I'll go through the thing. And he said, he said, what is your view on Yogi Clat's view on ship customization and where it's at the moment? And so it was right at the end of the stream. We kind of got the link. But we'd all kind of already sent people off to Paul's channel, so we said, okay, we'll deal with it this week. So that's our first question off the bat. So, X, what are your thoughts on Yogi Clat's comments on ship customization?
I'm going to be honest, I haven't read this yet. I've had too much to do this week. But you read it, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to agree with what you said anyway, so I'll let you answer this one.
So my initial thoughts when I read it was, all he's saying is this is the nature of development.
Yeah.
It's not, what we've got now is not how it is. And if you want everything to be really itemized, then get used to it. This is just the nature of development. They've changed it so that they can actually see what's going on and actually fine tune and work out what they're actually trying to do. Yeah, to me, it doesn't bother me at all. It's just the nature of development. So that was my thought. Yeah, I didn't find anything mind-blowingly exciting or upsetting with that. So, And Execute's still having a quick read, I think.
No, I'm typing a comment on the Inside Star Citizen, just telling them I'm just venting. I've said this is the worst idea you've ever had. You have ever had. You have ruined and forced new players into PvP, and you have now removed so many what do they call it? Ways
Methods,
to
ways.
remove a Correa stat.
Yeah,
that most people are just gonna log out.
And I do like the idea that if you're got a major crime stat, you've got to go to somewhere where you've got the big crime stat, high risk, go to a high risk, high reward. But if you've got a level 1 and you try and get rid of it, there should be a really easy method to get rid of it, whether it's paying a fine or yeah. Okay, deep breath. Calm down. Okay. All right, so while you're doing that, let's have a look at some of the other questions that we've got. And Execute, if he gets a chance to read the Yogiclat comment during the stream, he may come back and give his thoughts on that as well. But
I'd be in agreement with you, Algared, because I know that you know what I know, and I would assume that we're on the same page. All right, what's the next question? There's one there from Ted.
So the next one was from Ted Windlebaum, and he said, can a player submit various ships or just one per player? And I'm assuming he's talking about the ship shape type competition. Don't know. Haven't bothered to look.
Yeah. So what was the question? Can a player submit various ships or just one per player? I think it's whatever your screenshot goes in, and I think you can do as many as you want, Ted. I think they're just trying to get. So basically, this is. I think it's the worst way they do it, right? It's basically them trying to get us to freely promote their shit on social media.
And the idea is, the ones that get the most. The ships that get the most airplay, I suppose, from the community are the ones that they give, make it into the final 16. But we know that's not always the case, because I think the first year that the PT, the Argo was pushed, it was actually quite high, and it's not getting in. So,
yeah.
Oh,
I don't know. It's very hard for me to let something go when I get annoyed, and that's a part of my bipolar. But I'm just so
merchant
frustrated.
engineering. Yep. No, I don't go green. I used to say to my students, years ago, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. But no, I'm not going to go green and go Hulk.
All right, next question by Hayes X3 is, how are you guys doing? Feeling the Star System love still? Well, I think we kind of answered that question.
Yep, I think you've seen that today. We're feeling the frustration, the hassle, the annoyance, yeah. I don't think there's been. I can't remember ever there being an episode where everything in the episode just made us go blur. Like even when the Odyssey came out, there was some positives elsewhere, and the only thing we hated about the Odyssey was the way they marketed it. So yeah.
All right. So Black Dreamhunk asks on Twitch, I have a question. So now is the 400i now just sightseeing ship now? Is it now? Listed touring ship. Did a game dev on the YouTube CitizenCon 2950 ship talk state Chris Roberts said that the 400i being an explorer ship, I think about the 890 jump advertising when asking this. So basically the way I see touring is like a short range exploration, and it's more of a player social interaction. So it's a bit VIP missions and a little bit kind of like socialization. You go out, it's kind of like a group party, where you hang out with friends and socialize. That's what I see touring as. It's
going and checking out the points of interest in a system. Although I do think the 400i fits closer to it is in between, I think, the Corsair and the
Agreed.
And the Aquila. So it really is in that wheelhouse. just the same way that the jump point
It's almost like
specifically points out.
the origin ships are a little bit more generalized at the bottom, and as they go up, they really kind of focus in on that VIP thing as they go up. You know, and I agree with what you said there. They are the 400i is very similar to the Corsair, but then if you go, like, if you think about it, when you get back down to the 100 and the 300 series, they're the only ones that have got like a combat variant, like the 325 and the 125. You know, they've got cargo variants. There are more variants of them because they are more generalized. But as soon as you get
as you go up, it becomes less and less. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if they do that 200i, right? So I'm thinking like something around about a freelancer cutlass size. That thing needs to be like have 2 variants or 3, kind of like the cutlass and the freelancer, right? And I think that would, believe it or not, that'll probably be one of the most popular origin ships in the game, because the smaller ones are just a little bit too expensive and they don't do anything unique enough. But like, I'm just going to chuck it out there, right? If you had a 200i ambulance variant that competed with the red, that I could see people that would jump on, right? Because, I don't like Drake, but I do like Origin, you know, like, I'm trying to think of a skill. So, like, honestly, you've got the Sen, so, and that's a small, and they're technically a medium ship. So maybe one of the science ships could be the 200i. You know, we've talked about this before, haven't we? Like, they just don't really move outside their bubble. And there are some really elegant ships in the real world. Oh, and when I say ships, I'm meaning buildings or things like that as well, because you've got to think these are mobile homes, essentially. There are some really elegant stuff. Like you and I talked about a doctor's surgery, but it was more aligned for like plastic surgery to change the way your character looks or something like that. There's a few other ones. Have you frozen, Algared? I think you're frozen.
No.
You've
no,
gone
I have
8-bit.
frozen.
You've gone 8-bit. You've gone 8-bit on us. But that's fine.
I need to pull out the 8-bit owl.
So yeah, so for me, Origin, like, I know this is a very long-winded way to answer it, Dreamhunk, but yeah, Origin just need a bit more. I've always said I don't hate them. I just want more for the money, and it seems to be they have it all at the bottom end where they're really kind of generalized, because that's how starters are. They're generalized, but they very quickly, like now, by the time you get to the 400i, they're already going into this. They're starting to go to that VIP thing, and after the 400i, when you get into the 600, like the 600 and the 890 jump are just too niche for me. But we'll see. Hopefully, there's more things that come in there that we just can't see. So yeah.
But I and to build on that, I really do think the 400i really is a Connie Aquila / Corsair competitor. Yeah. It is an exploration ship, just like the Corsair. If you read the Jump Point article, it even it says. It has less exploration gear than its competitors, but it has it. It has the scanners for exploration, so it's got those particular scanners that do exploration. It just doesn't have as many or as many specialized things as the Aquila or the other ships in its vein. It has. The interesting thing is that that article even talks about it having the paper-thin armor that's renowned from Drake. So yes. Multiple sources. I remember seeing things where people said, where have people got the idea that Drake have paper thin armor or no armor? Well, it's your own article, CIG. But the idea of paper thin armor wasn't that it doesn't have it, it's just that it's less than others. And I think that's the thing that CIG was certainly trying to make in that category when they talked about Drake not having armor. They've all had armor, it's just not been as good or quality as everyone else. But they make up for that lack of armor and lack of maneuverability by having more weapons so the Corsair 1N 400 Willa, they are the same type of vehicle. They are exploration in answer to that question. So
right, Shadow Girl asks, will you be using illegal drugs for fun in game if given the option, or does your character not participate? I'm just going to go straight back to what we were talking about. There's just no reason to at the moment. Give me a reason, and I think even Algared and I have talked about having a good character and a bad character, didn't we, Algared? So you can take in both.
Well, I talked about even having a character who just lived in prison. just a jailbird. That's all he did. Stayed in prison.
Yeah.
Build up his prison credits to sell them. You know, I think at one point they talked about having those credits and being able to sell them off to people.
They did.
And I thought, hey, I'll have a character who just lives in prison and builds up his credits and just stays there and just sells them off. You know,
as you said, it's just the cart before the horse. They just don't have enough. Eventually, yeah, awesome. But at the moment, they've just gone so far one way that they just need to bring it back a little bit. And it was kind of tolerable. And now I think with what they've just done today, they've made it completely intolerable.
Yeah,
again.
what they're indicating they're doing today, just to me goes, you're forcing everyone into that slot.
Yeah.
And that I think is the error.
Do you know what I wanted to kind of do to prove my point? Get like 4 fully crewed hammerheads and don't let anyone even go near the place. So if you get a crime stat, you can't even get rid of it. You just end up in prison. And I'll just hold it out for 24 hours. I'm going to get some content creators. We're just going to hold the place for 24 hours. And they will just be like, what the hell is going on? And I don't know. You'd need to do it. You would need to.
Correa.
You would need to do that on multiple servers for them to get the message. But yeah, oh man.
Yeah,
you could really screw the game over. Like, don't let people P versus P. They can't even go into Correa. So you block the people that want to go there for PvP. You block the people that are trying to get rid of the crime stat. It's just like.
Of course, the problem is you by doing that and blockading Correa, you're actually giving PvP to people who want to try and get through because they're actually going to come and fight you. But
we're getting sucked back in again, Algared, to go around in this circle again. So I'm trying to pull us out of it again because like it's so frustrating.
Black Dream Hunk has another question. He says, so now, I know it's a repeat of a question, so
yeah, it's all good.
I'll skip that.
So Duncan Simpson asks, is SC losing the sandbox MMO feel to force feedback PvP?
I think so.
This is something we've talked about a few times where I feel they cater way too much to streamers in this game already. Because they want the streamers to appear happy while playing it, so people will buy the game. But what they don't realize, they seem to think that every new player comes through Twitch. I would disagree with that wholeheartedly, Algared. I would say most new players come into this game via friends, or YouTubers would bring in more people. Like those.
Oh,
big
you
YouTubers...
remember when we looked at we're trying to look at should we do Twitch?
Yeah.
We were looking at. Where the searches for Star Citizen are on things, and YouTube was number 1, and I think Twitch was second page, wasn't it? Or
yeah, Twitch on the day we searched, it wasn't even on the front page; it was on the second page. So I think more people are coming into this game via YouTube and content creators, and I would say the biggest one is like that old word of mouth with friends thing. Because let's be honest, most of the stuff I get dragged into is via friends. I don't listen to advertisers or anything like that. Some people do listen to content creators and blah, blah, blah. But I would say Twitch is a far fraction because the other thing is you've got to catch the person live. At a YouTube video, you can watch whenever you want. So we're in Australia, and we're at completely opposite side of the world. If people were listening to us, they can watch it whenever they want, except on a live stream like this. So, yeah.
And I'll be honest. Look, I am grateful for those people who do like to catch for content creators and watch their content because that's worked for us. But it's certainly not how I got into the game.
Yeah. You got brought in through friends. I got brought in through my housemate. It's the same thing.
Well, in a sense, I got brought in by friends. I got brought in by org mates in another game, who I had to bludgeon to get the information about Star Citizen, and then it was seeing, this is a Chris Roberts game, right? He made Wing Commander, right? I'm in. So mine was a slightly different route, but yeah, most people I know come in via friends. So
I think let's look forward a bit. I think it'll eventually, as more gameplay comes in. So let's look at the next patch. Once you've got salvage coming in and you got the cargo free factor bringing in, I just think they're doing this right now because it's easy to do. But I'm going to be honest with you, I hope they see. I hope we're not the only content creators talking about this.
Yeah, well, Biker Scout from Twitch said, he came in for his friends and everyone he knows. I think let's have a read. And a lot of the people he knows came in through that avenue as well. So,
can anyone in chat tell me if they've seen any other content creators commenting about this today? And are we the only ones that are talking about this negatively, or is it? I've got to assume there's other people out there have got the same vision and foresight we do, because like I'm hearing the things other people are saying in chat. They're echoing what we're saying, but are there other content creators talking about it like this?
I would imagine if they're playing the now game, they probably don't care, because that really does feed into the now game of giving content, as you said. And I think that's part of where we're different. We're looking at it and going, okay, this is a now, yeah, great for that content, as you said, but it is also bad for the now for those who don't want to do that, but it's also bad for the future.
Yeah,
in its current form.
So someone was actually just saying in the chat there that one of his friends was happy with what's coming. And I'm just reading the top comment that's up. Like, so this one was 3 minutes ago. It says, "More of this, please. This is great. Maybe add some asteroid bases for us to fight over." So he's clearly a PvPer.
Probably one of those, you must PvP with me or you're ruining my fun.
But I think a lot of these people are just, I don't want to be rude or mean, but they feel like they're just sheep telling people. Correa seems very hard to consider. Yeah, look, see, there we go. There's another content creator. Correa seems very hard to do considering the terrible law system right now. 100% agree. But yeah, you not to insult some people, but like some of these normies, there's just the comments like, "This sounds amazing."
This sounds like PvP heaven. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Yeah.
But yeah.
To suit those in the younger generation, maybe I'm just being a boomer.
Yeah, I often question my sanity when I read stuff like this, but you got to remember, some people just they're a bit sheepish and they just follow the positive train, and that's fine. It won't be until they get back in.
So Sangroper has a question for us.
If you guys feel kind, hang on. If you guys feel kind, upvote my comment, and that way maybe they'll actually read it. But I doubt it. All right, sorry. What was the question?
So Sangroper has a question or a comment. He says a non-PvP mission, prison mission would be nice. Why not make people who get a crime stat during Siege of Orison pick up medical gowns and work off their prison sentence instead?
See, that's a really good idea. Like real life community service. So you know how
pick up the rubbish.
You know how we were talking about different stages of things. So level 1, you have to pay a fine. Level 2 is a community service one, so you can do like deliver, food to the elderly or something. Level 3 is when you start getting shot at, and that's just like a bunker mission with automated turrets. Level 4 is like some kind of bunker with turrets and AI, and then level 5 is career. There you go. There's the 4 levels.
Level 5 is the top end, and you want that level. You do want that range of activities. But I do like the idea of the community service, and you make them wear this gaudy, horrible.
High-vis vest that's pink. That's
gown
pink.
That makes them stick out. Yes, you are a criminal.
No, because Disco Lena's been wearing the pink vest. You got to wear the pink vest.
You got to wear a pink vest. If you do something like that, you've got to wear. There's a certain uniform or something that clearly says you are a criminal working off your time. Yes.
Yeah.
I like that idea. I really do. John Ski has a question. John Ski says, "Just sell all your ships, stay in prison forever doing missions."
I think, as Algared said, that will be a thing. And when the very first time they detailed out the prison system, that's what it was. Do you remember other things, Algared, like the boxing ring and stuff like that, and that just never ever eventuated?
There's a sense that you could actually box and you could actually do things to build credits with crime stats or do stuff, so you could actually take out the prison. It was supposed to be this lawless place within a kind of a law.
They're all coming.
It's supposed to be a prison community
they're all still coming. It's just that how long is it going to take? Well, no. Also, they're just working on Squadron 42, so they got the fist stuff working on Squadron 42, and then someone just didn't kind of carry that over, or something got missed, and it's like, well, we've got to cut that again. And just think about all the things that get they talk about it, and then they get cut. So, yeah. Hang on, I just got to report this guy because he's being a dick.
Because he's just absolutely spamming us, yes. And kill.
Alright. Enjoy your bye-bye. Bye-bye, have a fun time. Thanks.
Right, so Access 0096 has a question or a statement. They say, what other aspects of a game do CIG need to focus on besides cargo and salvage? Can name quite a few, but I'd like to hear your opinion.
I'm actually so I know Level Cap is fairly new, but he did hit on some really good ones in his video that I watched yesterday, which was the top 10 things they need to fix. And I think the big one for most people at the moment is the star map. And I think that kind of comes along with the HUD rework and stuff like that. So like not being able to like what a pet peeve for me at the moment is you're trying to warp somewhere and there's like 10 people there and it just keeps re-clicking. So like a manual way to even if you do it, so a way to set a warp via MFD. So you can actually go into the MFD, you select a place, and you say auto, and the ship just automatically turns there. It spools up and goes. So a way you can actually do it through the MFD, not do it on the screen. At the moment, we usually, like you can tell they've got multiple ways to do things. They're kind of making it like, you know, like in Windows, there's multiple ways you can copy paste and stuff like that. So just the same thing. You want multiple ways to do things. So if it's not working one way and buggy one way, you can do it another way. So yeah, the big ones for me were the star work and the HUD. What about you, Algared?
Yeah, I'd like to see them expand out on all areas. So,
what are the, like? Just give me one or two or three if you want to go further. Real big things that'll give quality of life changes. That's kind of what.
Well, I think the maps is a classic one.
Yeah.
Of doing quality of life. I think fixing the lifts. How many times do you find an invisible lift where you can't enter the list or you're stuck in a location?
They're working on it though. Like, and you got to admit, they like when they work at the moment, they're pretty good. So they've made it more realistic with how the doors work.
Yep.
But then they travel heaps faster, and I think that's a good compromise.
And they are getting, you know, things are improving. Like if you go back and have a look at what lists were like months ago, they are certainly better. But there's still certain problems, and that is one of the natures of game development. I know sometimes, you know, you fix something that's working well, and then you add something else, and for some reason X, Y, and Z gets broken, and you've got to go back and fix them. And it's just, you know, some 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and you've just got to. It's just the way development works. You've just got to. You've just got to be used to it, and if you know that's the case,
when you're moving such big jigsaw pieces and you're putting them together, sometimes you've had a stopgap in there to make that work. So when you remove that, you've kind of essentially got to rebuild it. And there is a bit of problem because you've lost that damn wall, so to speak, and everything starts pouring out. So you're putting stopgaps back in place temporarily before you can get the big piece. You know the analogies I'm all going through. Like when you're trying to put things together, it doesn't always go slip straight together like a jigsaw piece. You've got to patch it, and
you know when you're putting your IKEA furniture together, it doesn't always work. And
there's no instruction manual.
That's right.
You know?
And that's probably a really key thing with regards to Star Citizen. Like, I'm putting the model together. I'm following the instruction manual. CIG have an idea of what they want to do, but a lot of the things they're doing are new. They're actually creating the stuff as they're going and working out, okay, how do we deal with this? How do we solve that? And whenever you're doing that type of thing, you will fix one thing and break another. And it's just an iterative process, and it does take time. And for those people who are saying, why is Star Citizen taking 10 plus years? That's part of the reason why. It's as I said, the nature of game development.
So we try to... Sorry, I'm just reading a question by Sangroper. It wasn't a question, it was a statement that he made in the Twitch chat. And it says, most Star System creators for SC are US-based, and pretty sure ISC drops when most would be sleeping. Now, we try to line this up with people finishing work. I think it's about 4:30 in the afternoon in New York, and it's about 6:30 in LA when we start, right?
Yep.
So we try to line that up so you guys can listen to us on the way home, or you've just got home or whatever before you eat your meal. That's kind of how where we're trying to line it up. But we're testing the waters to see what the best time is for you guys. But that's what where we're aiming for. Just on your right.
That's actually why we start an hour later now.
Yeah, because we figured we were looking at the stats and it showed that you guys were on a little later than we thought, so we pushed it an hour forward. And it also
Sandgroper.
also worked out with Paul, because it also meant we could raid onto Paul and give him a few more viewers or whatever. So help each other out as we do. But
so sorry, Sandgroper, because I know you're an Aussie. So
yeah. But yeah,
it's an hour later for you, but it's
Sandgroper's in WA. I had a good chat with him the other week. But so unfortunately, it's the way. So it's terrible for Australians because like right now it's almost 10 a.m. So everyone's already going to work or stuff like that. And we start at 8 a.m. So most people would be just leaving home to go to work and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it really is aiming for. So most of our audience are on our channels are American. So that's we try to cater for you guys.
Yeah. All right. So next question here is also by Sandgroper. He's still in this limelight right now. Question: does CIG even look at the Star System experience for new players? If they don't have an experienced player talking to them through the game, I'm honestly surprised most don't refund or stop playing. Man, the sheer number of new players I run into in chat, and I don't know about you, Algared, but I see, not just me, but I see a lot of people really go out of the way to help new people. I think that's actually a really positive of our community. And to the point that I remember I was on a live stream. I can't remember who it was. Oh, Croncy. I was with Croncy. And this new guy was on, and he started talking in Croncy's chat, and I stopped what I was doing. Croncy kept going on and doing the live stream, and I stopped, stepped out, and dragged that guy into Discord and taught him how to play the game, because I thought that was way more important than doing what I was doing, because new people just get completely. This guy was lost. He was so lost, and he couldn't control his ship. He'd exploded 4 times. He'd traveled. There was one last week as well. This guy had traveled 9 times from ArcCorp to it was a place on Daymar to try and get this quest done, and it was it was a bunker mission, but it wasn't meant to spawn ships, but for some reason someone else had been there, and in their mission it had spawned ships, so he had to deal with the ships before he could drop the box off. So it was a box mission that shouldn't have had anything to shoot or anything, and he just couldn't get it done. And the poor guy didn't know how to set his spawn or anything like that, so he traveled and this guy's in an Aurora 9 times from ArcCorp to Crusader, and then died multiple times. I felt for
that
him.
guy deserved the medal. He's got more patience than I have.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa. And I'm like, so I turned up in my I can't remember what ship I was in, and
you probably turned up in your Redeemer.
I can't remember what it was, but I blew him away from him and helped him kill them, and then he completed the box mission, and he's like, cool. And then I showed him how to respawn and set his respawn location and stuff like that. And he's like, oh man, that's so good. Your ship's amazing. Blah blah blah. I said, well, do you want to go? And then I went and did some bounties with him and got him a whole bunch of cash because he had none. But he had a much better experience, and I'll probably play with him again. And he asked about orgs, and I steered him in some orgs direction. But like, that's what that guide system's meant to do. But I think I asked him about the guide system. I said, did you know about the guide system? He goes, no, I didn't know there was a guide system.
On the guide system, the worst part about it is it links you up outside of the game.
But what's the point of having it if they don't even know it exists?
Yeah, but it's outside a game. But
Algared, where does it tell? I just think about that now. When you sign up, where does it tell you about the guide system? What a disconnect. Yeah, you are right. It is outside the game. I'll totally give you that. But what an oversight! It's like making a product and you don't advertise it or tell anyone it exists.
I'd rather see a game, the age system where you could, you could get it in game. You're in game, you're playing. If I've got to suddenly stop out and get into outside the game and go into a system and say, hey, how do I do this? Or can you show me how to do this? That's almost it's stopping me. Whereas, and you see in game at the moment, most people will ask in chat, and our community is really awesome in helping people and showing them or explaining to them, telling them how to do it and the buttons to press and all the rest of it. But the number of times you hear people going on, okay, I've just got the game. How do I find my ship? Or where are you? Oh, I'm in the orange place. because they haven't really paid attention to what location they're starting in. Or I was watching a stream the other day, or in game the other day, and someone was saying, "I finally got out of Orison."
Well,
as a new player, they'd finally managed to escape Orison, or they'd finally managed to do, and it was that type of.
If they were honest with their players too, they would have recommended starting locations, and then they would have things like on Orison said, "This place is new; it can be a little buggy." Literally little asterisk caveats that you could have there that they remove at later dates once they fix stuff. And you and I will both agree, Horizon's a lot better now than it was on release, but it's still not great for a lot of people. You and I both have fairly beefy PCs, but I think that's the other thing. Most people that come into this, if you treat your regular Call of Duty player, they have a fairly mid-range PC. Most people do have mid-range. It is getting better though with the Vulkan and the DirectX 12 API stuff coming on, and that made a big difference in this patch. And the next 2 patches, it will hopefully make even more difference. But
yeah, and I think as quality of life features do improve, that's going to make life better. But I know when one of my nephews was playing, his first thing was he just took every mission that was available and then was wondering why I can't work out what I'm doing, because he, okay, which mission are you tracking? Oh, I don't know. Where's the map? There is no map. But how do I find where I've got to go? You just like in real life, you use signs and
but it's early days. There'll be heaps more stuff that comes in over time to direct you where to go and stuff like that. And then there's other bugs too, like how many times you have to track or untrack to try and get it back, and sometimes they don't come back. And
even if you're in a group with someone, your party members don't always show up. So and those things will change. They will improve, but it does make it. It does take away from that new player experience, and it's
there we go.
For a lot of new players who hang in there, you've got to give them kudos because they really do.
That's not a bad idea. So says in chat, he goes, rep missions for guiding new players in Mobiglass, a new mission type. So you could almost do it through the beacon system where you flag yourself as a new player, and basically other people basically come in and guide you. I think we've lost Algared, but he'll probably come back. There he is. Yep.
I think it's just the. It is 10:01. It is the. Looks like the time when the internet starts to tank.
The housewives are cranking up their live streams.
Yeah, the local neighbours are cranking up their live streams for God knows what, and the internet starts to tank. It's frustrating as hell, but.
All right, so we got another question here from Fishy2951 who says, fixed crime stat levels 1 through 3 pay a fine, level 4 and 5 prison. Yeah, I think you could even expand that out. So, maybe 3 levels of crime stat and 3 levels of fines. I don't know. Yeah, there's no perfect system, but again, you got to remember when they change stuff, it changes a lot of back end stuff. So, the simplest fix at the moment is just make it so it you get a fine, but you don't get a crime stat or whatever. I don't know, but they need to fix it. It's terrible.
And going forward, I wouldn't even mind if they said, okay, you've got a choice: fine, community service. Yeah. You do pay the fine, it's this much. You do community service, this much. You do jail time, it's this much time. And eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I could even cope with that type of thing.
Well, that's why I just said earlier, at the moment, if they just had a button so you can opt out, because it's just not fun. You're literally killing people's enjoyment, and that's forcing people into P vs P. At least then they can just kill themselves, go to prison, press a button, and then they respawn. Yes, that's annoying because it's annoying enough. The punishment there is that you're at, if you're, for example, say you're at ArcCorp, the punishment becomes traveling from Lawville or Everest Harbour back to ArcCorp. But at the moment, there's this massive problem. Let's just go through it a little bit. It takes you to prison. You have to do all that shit. It also takes your ship to Correa that you have to reclaim. Now, in my case, I've got a Redeemer that's got the longest climb time under the sun. It's longer than the Reclaimer. The Reclaimer is 27 minutes, and for some reason, the Redeemer is 32. I don't understand the logic on that, but that's how it is. Then I have to actually then fly back to where I was. And that takes about an hour.
And that's why it screws up party gameplay.
And I know what I'm doing. A new player,
got-
they're thrown in there. They don't know where they don't even know they've got to go to the terminal in the middle of the room. That's how bad it is.
Yep.
They're just completely lost and frustrated. They throw their hands up in the air and they do care, and they log out. So, whatever.
Yep.
I feel we're going so much in circles with this shit, but anyway.
We are.
Bucky Tin goes, do you think additions/updates to the prison system, Correa system would be better if the CS system was fixed? Yes. I definitely agree the CS system is clearly right. It literally comes down to the crime stat system. It's been broken since day one. They've just never ever addressed it. They've been working on all this other stuff and not realised that that's broken because to them they're looking at data. That's the problem with a lot of how games are balanced these days. They look at data. The problem is, just like when you do speculation or we do speculation, if you don't have all the data or the experience in your head, you come to the wrong conclusion, which is one of the reasons why when we speculate, we never do it alone, right? Yeah. And that's why and I remember someone saying a comment in the chat last week, when we, they don't particularly like speculation, but when people do it, they think we do it better, and that's all it is because we just don't do it alone, right? Because your brain is very weird. You can ask it any question, and it'll think it's got the right answer. But the thing is, as people, especially this group in chat, like we're all older people. We all know the more life experience you have, the more you can answer questions, right? So all we're doing is multiplying that and going through multiple heads, right?
Yeah.
That's how we deal with speculation.
And when you get our speculation, you are getting the product of that discussion we've had behind the scenes, and sometimes our discussions behind the scenes get heated. As we disagree with each other.
Sometimes they don't turn into episodes either. There's times where we talk about stuff for days, and it's like, well, this is just too complicated. We've got to put that on the shelf for a while because it's and we're having trouble explaining it. So we also want the disagreements, right?
Yeah.
So we want people that have different points of view because it checks things. And the one thing that we all we sometimes have trouble in Discord where people's discussions get very heated in text. So we always make sure they talk in voice if they get heated, because as soon as you talk in voice, it just seems to dissipate. And you'll find that you're quite on page and they realize that it's passionate. So just be careful when you're in text because it gets fairly heated.
Yeah. We do try to do a lot of our speculation in we
voice.
do a lot in text, we do a lot in voice.
And a lot of the disagreements, say, just between me and you, for example, they generally start in text, don't they? And then we get in voice, and it's like, sorry, I read that like this, that you're an actual asshole. But no, you're not an asshole. You were just trying to do this.
Yeah, and even sometimes it's just we're saying the same thing, but from opposite ends.
Exactly. Looking at it from different perspectives, and that's a really good way to put it. Not just different life experiences, but people do have different perspectives. So if you ever want to speculate, make sure you get at least one other person. And it's really interesting too, because we've had show ideas come out of things that you would never expect. I remember that time with Osiris, and Osiris had that whole, because he was a medic in the army, and he was also a construction worker, and those two things basically bore fruit in the same episode, because he had these two different perspectives that no one else had, and no one else could have connected the dots. I can't remember the episode, but I remember for me that was a real pivotal moment, and that's when a lot of the professional point of view stuff kicked off. And I think it was when I did that episode with Badges and him on Search and Rescue, and that all spun off the whole professional point of view series. It all came out of that first episode, and it was just like, wow, I can actually go talk to people that know stuff, and that actually is useful. And look at all the things that we've come out of that. We learn about mining, the underground mining stuff, when we talk to the geologists and stuff like that, and it goes on and on, like how repair works and all that stuff, the refining stuff. Like, they've all shed light into those professions. I couldn't have answered those. Like, I've got that game development background, so I can take what they tell me and I can gamify it, and that's how we come up with those cool episodes. But I don't know that shit, right? So there's no way one person can speculate on this game. It's too big. Just absolutely too big. Anyway, sorry, I feel like I'm going in circles again.
Yep. So Fishy2951 has a statement. He says, make all warning times 5 times longer and proportional to ship size.
All warning.
So I think,
warning timers?
when you get the warning, you're on a pad, you're blocking.
Oh, the impound.
Its landing pad.
The impound stuff. Is that what you're talking about?
So I'm assuming that's what he's referring to.
Well, I had a bug with that yesterday where I was going to land, and I was landing into my hangar, and then just before I got there, it told me I was being impounded for blocking somewhere, but that's where it told me to land.
Yep. Yeah, Hurston do that a lot. I find a lot of it. Hurston's a bastard. They give you a landing pad, you're landing in there, and then they say, "Oh, you're in a wrong area. We're going to impound your vehicle. Paper's fine."
Do you know what?
Man, Hurston.
I would actually say the crime stat system is that busted. You know, I was talking about adding it to menu, like where the console is. I actually think it should be added in the escape menu, just like a remove all crime stat button. Like it's that bad, right? That's how it's become.
I would at least like to see, I know they've got the little terminals now in the hangars where you can actually pay your fines. I'd at least like a way you could go and even pay, even do. Hey, I want to do community service. There's got to be another way to get rid of them. No, if you can't afford it, there's got to be another way.
So Randy Lom, who's one of our members, just said, but impound does not give a crime stat. No, it doesn't give a crime stat, but it does give a fine. Yep. And you're getting fined for something that you didn't do. And that sorry if you've only just joined Randon, but we've been bitching about this whole thing, and it's just getting worse and worse. This is a huge bitch fest today, complaining about all this stuff. So, yeah. All right, we've got another visitor that wants to say bye-bye. Everyone say bye-bye. Bye-bye, Mr.
Bye,
Man.
Mr. Dragon, who's wanting to, not Dragon, whoever's sending the spam.
Bye-bye. Have fun.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Shadow Girl.
Yep. Next question.
The prison fix. Add prison rep with some interesting, unique benefits to unlock. Basically, make prisons more interesting to be there. If it's fun, it's not. But again, if it's fun, it's not punishment. And I know when they first came in, I was saying this was how we deal with griefers, and yet I was saying, but we want to make it fun. And I had that problem with you're punishing griefers by sending them to prison, but you're actually making it fun for them to be there. So, but there is a point where you do want it to be fun. But if it's fun, it's not a punishment anymore. So I'm not sure what you do with that. What are your thoughts?
Sorry, I was dealing with stuff in the background. Can you just quickly give me?
Yeah. So Shadow Girl's comment was the prison fix. Add prison rep with some interesting, unique benefits to unlock. Basically, make prisons more interesting to be there. If it is fun, and then she makes the comment, if it's fun, it's not a punishment though. So
so it's not so much about it being fun or something like that, because I think that will eventually come, and I do agree with your statement there. But the problem is if you're doing something, it's a complete interruption. It's like it's akin to like your mum wants you to go have dinner. It's that simple, right? Like if you're doing stuff with your friends and someone literally goes, "No, you have to go do this now because you're a bad boy." But you didn't do anything wrong. You just got, accused of a false crime. It's the same thing. It's just like
it's worse than your mum calling you for dinner. It's your mum turning your internet off. It's that type of, when you're a kid. No, TV's off now. Come to the table.
But Mum, I want to hang out with Johnny and do
too bad.
this.
Internet's off. Go. Yeah. So it's that much of an interruption, and that's.
What you said though, Shadow Girl, will be benefit, and that's kind of what they were showing at that second part of the ISC. Yeah, they're trying to detail that out, but it's cart before the horse thing, and we've been saying this for ages. Like,
Sandgroper says,
hang on, maybe it did need to get worse before it becomes better, but hopefully they notice it now.
Maybe it does need to get worse before it gets better. That's all often a case as well. Sandgroper says, did everyone notice the email CIG sent about your stats for Siege of Orison?
Was that today? Hang on, I'll check my email.
Yeah, my stats were basically nothing. I looted stuff. I didn't kill anything. I think I got knocked down once.
Was that today, Algared, or when did it come?
I haven't seen. Sandgroper, if you can tell us when the email was sent, that would be great. I haven't checked my email today, so
I do have your jump down debrief. I killed 100 eliminations. I had 0 deaths. 100 eliminations, 0 death, total eliminations by ship weapons, total eliminations by... Yeah, so I never died, but I killed 100 people.
You're an evil bastard.
Suckers on you. All right, Siege of Orin debrief was the same thing.
Okay.
I think mine might be bugged because it says 100 eliminations, 0 deaths, and I know I died. Right?
Yeah.
And total eliminations by ground weapons. So, yeah, they're bugged. They're bugged.
Oh, there you go. It's bugged.
Yeah, so yeah. I don't reckon they're accurate for everybody. So, yeah.
Oh, let's have a look what they reckon on these. So I'm pretty certain mine
Yeah, bugged as well.
are minimal because I couldn't get in as much as I wanted. So
All right.
look at my emails. I can't see it. So there you go.
Yeah, okay. Gazlaw, someone told me we can still clear our crime stat at Microtech security, true or not? Well, that's the thing I got to ask, Gazlaw, because they literally said they used a acronym, but people are saying it means underground bunker. It was UGB is what they said. And that does make sense. Underground bunker. So all the underground bunkers where you could go that were security outposts, they're all gone. And the best thing the best thing about when they brought them in was just the travel time. You had to go to Correa. I think that's why they brought them in initially, because it was so annoying that you had to leave the planet you're at and go all the way over and do that one mission that everyone knew. Like anyone that just wants to travel, you just sat at Correa, and that's all back now. Because at the time, when you had somewhere else to go, people just stopped sitting there and forcing PvSP. But now they're forced it back to one location. People are just they're just gonna log out. If I get a crime stat and it says 15 minutes, I'm gonna go get a snack or make a cup of tea. I'm not even gonna interact with those guys.
Yep. Well, I never went to Korea to try and get rid of a crime stat. If I got a crime stat for, from Hurston because it flipped my ship over on top of a landing pad and impounded the ship and gave me a crime stat for blocking the landing pad or whatever.
Problem was though,
I would literally let security kill me. I just power down my shield, stand inside, let security kill me, and go to prison and then log out.
That's fine, Algared, if you're on your own. But again, like I was saying, if you're in an event, it's like, well, do I just not do the event that's scheduled for once a week? Like you've just killed your whole evening. So it's like, well, I've got to go do this because that's what CIG told me I've got to do. I've got to jump through these hoops. So as I said, they need to add something so you can just opt out because
we had the situation with Crux Cup. We had people who had crashed and got a crime stat, and they died as a result of a crash, and they ended up in prison. Event's over for them. And it's... Yes, I am feeling the rage building for those people who are wondering if I'm going to go green. Yeah. So, yes, the rage is there again.
Cinemass Gamer asks, one of the military guys mentioned in an earlier video that they wanted VLS missiles. What are VLS? VLS missiles. Do you think that would be a good tally module like 50 S2 per bay? I don't know what a VLS is though.
I can't remember what a VLS is.
More modules is not going to be a bad thing, and if I'd assume almost like the A2, you know how you've got the torpedoes, it would have been cool to see like dumbfire missiles that could just drop from the Retaliator. That'd be kind of cool.
Look, the Retaliator was supposed to be a bomber as well, so
yeah,
it would be great to see it actually have bombs.
Yeah, so instead of giving it like a really big bomb like the A2, because that steals from it, maybe just the little cluster missiles that the A2 gets, something like that for the Retaliator might be a halfway. And
even the old
vertical launch. He says vertical launch. What, they shoot out the top? I'm really confused. Is that for like an air to ground missile? I'm really confused what you mean by that, Cinemaster. You'll have to clarify that. Vertical launch is...
Well, he said one of the military guys had mentioned in an earlier video vertical launch missiles.
Yeah, but how do you do
it? I could say it in terms of, it's like the missiles that you see on the guided missile destroyers, the submarine.
Yeah.
So I could see that. Would it be a thing? It might, might say.
What I'm getting at though, Algared, is I don't know how you vertically launch a missile out of a Retaliator, because they have to come out the bottom.
Well,
So is it
currently,
firing straight
but if you've got
down?
the module, if you've got the module that's replacing that middle section, it would be going,
So,
yeah.
so just to reiterate, you have the inside of the ship and you have the outside of the ship.
Yep.
That would actually require them to remodel the outside of the ship.
Yep.
So I'd say likely no.
If they had the module where the missiles were kind of coming vertically downwards, you could probably do it.
Well, that's what I said. Just the little cluster
but yeah,
ones from the cluster ones from the A2 would be the compromise.
But I'm not sure how you do it myself. Just thinking about that. Randy Dernhill has that question. He says, "What do you guys think of using the BMM as a base of operations type ship or a mobile home?"
Totally possible if you're into cargo and merchant stuff. What about you, Aaron?
You can use any ship for anything. You could use an Aurora as a mobile base and home if you really wanted. It's not going to give you much ability to carry stuff, but you could do it. You could use an 890 jump for that. You could use a BMM. You could use a Polaris so any ship you have can do that. It's just a matter of how.
Yeah,
what aspect you're looking at.
You want to take its main features, and so when you look at a Abandoned Merchantman, it's mercantile and cargo, and you do have room for multiple people to live there, but all those people are going to want that same gameplay loop. So at the end of the day, you don't want to force anyone to do not what they're doing. So if you're running with a bunch of miners, clearly that's the wrong ship,
Yep. And that ties. Look, and I'll put this into context of my earlier rant. If you're saying to someone you must PvP or PvE this way because that's what we're doing, otherwise you're ruining our fun, then if they want to do something else, it's not right. So you've got to have that both sides of the coin, and choosing the ship that you use as your base or your home. You really do want to link it to the activities you're doing. As X said, if you're wanting to do mining, then a BMM or a 890 are not the ships you want to be taking. It's just, yeah. Blizzrad question? Actually, nope. Sorry, Black Hunk.
No. You're up to Randy Dernhill. What did we just say? Oh no,
No, we just did Randy's.
My bad.
So Black Dream Hunk had a second question.
Don't need to
and
answer
he said,
it.
"Don't need to answer it. It was a response to our venting, but we don't know what your question was because you didn't put it there."
No, it was the question from before. Don't worry about it. So
all right, okay.
Blizzrad.
So we'd already answered it. Okay. Blizzrad, do you think the MISC will be the only company with a science ship? So far, that seems to be the only one. Your ideas for new science ships?
Yeah, so we've talked about this before. I do think there is room there for possibly an Origin ship, like I said earlier. I don't know, Algared, what other manufacturers to you kind of say science?
I've always thought Origin is a perfect science. I've always thought Origin ships kind of had that clinical lab.
I think the other one actually
I
just thought of would be RSI because of the Apollo.
Yep.
So if you
RSI
an Origin.
Yep.
So because there's 4 ships and 2 of them are currently MISS, I think the last 2 would be an RSI and an Origin, like Algared's.
Yep, and if you think about it, exploration ships are kind of in that sciencey wheelhouse as well. So in that aspect,
true.
you've got just based on that, you've got Drake fitting in there with the Corsair, RSI fitting there with the Aquila, Anvil fitting there with the
and you do have the medical bed in the Carrack as well, so that's true. Yep. Okay, I didn't think of Anvil.
So you do have, and you've got the science in the Carrack. You've got those little sciencey rooms at the side where you can do your research into the diseases. So yeah, it's. I think there are more. There's more science than we actually think.
I think that's a really clever way to look at it, actually, because like an explorant science ship is kind of what, because you look at the Sen, how it's the sampler. It is a part of exploration in a way. So, yeah, maybe there is a ship out there, like, and I could see an Anvil one, and I could see an RSI and all that as well, and even a Drake. I actually kind of hope there are labs in some of those explorer ships. Now you've kind of brought that to my attention. But you
certainly do look at the Carrack, and the Carrack's med bay. You've got the the entrance to the med bay, you've got the kind of casual area where we're recovering, then you've got the locked off area where you're actually treating them, and off the side to that room, you've got these kind of little lab type areas. So
well, when you look at the Endeavour and those modules, you've got the science module and the research module. So they're the two ships I think that are missing. There's whatever the science. So there's a science and there's a research lab. So I would say that they're the two ships, just know, the same as the Endeavour, but in a separate ship.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And even the research, either number crunching or actually doing the actual experiments. So yeah.
You're killing my arm. You know you're doing that, by the way. You know how his head's on. Oh, sorry, I'm patting a cat, but he's like making me reach out. Oh, you're leaving. All right, bye. Nice knowing you.
I got that when you started. I was, what are you doing? What are you saying? And that was cat.
Yeah.
Death factor. That's a question. Do you think a good counterpoint to SPK Jumptown Light would be? I'm not sure it's Jumptown Light. I think they're making it Jumptown Heavy. But okay. Would be CIG to allow remote hacking by MSR specialty ships.
That could totally be a thing if you could have a Herald and remote hack Correa. That may be a thing that they're aiming for down the road, but that, like we've said, Algared, a lot of this shit is the cart before the horse, and they've done it when it comes to crime and piracy, they've done it multiple times to the point like today they've actually they made steps forward when they made Correa
not the only venue.
Yeah, exactly, and now they've pushed it all back to one. And the problem with that is they're focused so much on the PVSP. It is great for PVSP. Yeah, awesome, amazing. Yep. But you just totally had the oversight and didn't even look at the rest of it. So you just had blinders on. And that's why I went into things about filtering it through multiple people and stuff like that. Because they've got these PvP blinders on and they didn't even look at the consequences.
Yep. Yes, Access, that could be an option as well. A Terrapin version with the addition of medical.
So you remove the scanners and put in a lab. Totally, 100% can see that as a cool little ship. And the armored nature of it and the defendability of it, that all lends credence to that.
Could make it a great, going into a troubled area to pull people out. Yeah, 100%.
I could even see. Look, because I start to wonder, Algared, and this is based off the things with the Pisces we talked about, how it used to have the scanner and stuff. Can you take a ship like a Corsair or a Constellation or an MSR, and you literally just have a mobile lab you set up in the cargo bay? There's your science ship. Every ship that's got a cargo bay all of a sudden becomes a science ship.
Just because you can add X, Y, and Z to it. Yep. I think I said it in.
Like you said, I was going to say, like you said with the Explorers. That all of a sudden makes all the Explorers science ships.
Yeah, I think I was talking. I think in one of the channels, or one of the responses to our chat. I hope down the line with ships like the Corsair, that we'll be able to swap out the furniture fittings and upgrade the furniture fittings. Buy a better bed and put that in instead of cot beds in the Corsair. Upgrade the bed. Now I don't know. Be in terms of changing the ship. My non-developer brain says those internal fittings, because they're not changing the structure of a ship, shouldn't be too hard a fix to add. But it depends how they're actually putting those features in the ships in the first place. But I'd like to see that type of ability to modify our ships so that every ship could be your own ship. Whether you're putting a fancy bed in, a different blanket, a bobblehead on the dashboard or whatever.
Yeah, so I think that customization stuff's going to come. But I remember, do you remember back in the day when they were going, you could technically put a mining head on a...
Yeah, you could put a mining head on a... But
that's all changed now. That's all changed. But it was so weird. It was so weird back in the day, what they were originally planning. And I think it's much
even then, back then, I remember them talking about you could put a mining head, put a mining head on a Hornet because it's got the power, so you could actually have it powered to do the mining head. But the problem was they said, well, it doesn't have the pipes to suck the stuff in, and it doesn't have a storage, so you could use it, but you couldn't. But I know that they now drifted away from that idea, and in a sense, I think that's a good thing. But I know the idea was to enable people to play the game with the ship their way. And
so I've just got Cans just messaged me an image of a VLS system, and it's essentially it's on the top of a ship, but like the way I'd visualize it is almost like a submarine. You know, the submarines,
Yep.
So essentially, you would have to have a variant that actually changes the exterior. So that wouldn't be a variant; it would be a whole new hull. Very unlikely to do that at the end of the day. Now I've seen it, but that's what I thought it might be, was from the top of it. But yeah, you got to remember all the holes on the Retaliator are on the bottom. The exception to that, now I think about it, is if you removed one of the turrets and it somehow fitted inside the turret hole, because that is a hole in the hull. But again, that's a unique.
I could see a module for
hang
the.
On, hang on. That's a unique bespoke system, so it would actually have to have a whole lot of fresh code. So I also stepped that back now because it's too much work, because it's bespoke. Sorry.
I could see you possibly having a module for the hammerhead that had that in those hammerhead holes. You know, like a slotted in, bang, you've got it there. But that's
it would allow them to do that with all what do you call it? Hang on, we've got another troll. Hang on, let's go to hide user from this channel.
Yeah, lots of those trolls today.
Yep. And I want to report and. Report him. Bye bye. All right, everyone say bye. He's gone. What were we talking about? Yeah, so that turret thing, if they did bring that in, it would allow you to swap turrets out for vertical launch missile systems. That could be a thing, but yeah, that's a loaded. Like, think of the rebalance factors and stuff like that. So I'm leaning way more towards no than yes. But having a ship that has a vehicle like a launch system like that.
System.
The other thing I look at is that would be I would see that way. Oh man, I'm trying to run it through because I'm not a military guy, right? But you think about the way the missiles have to come out and then go to where they're going. Most missile systems at the moment on ships, they kind of shoot the missiles out sideways, and then they're all forward facing, essentially is what I'm trying to say. So that's very different from everything we have right now. So also, if all the missiles fire like that and you want them to fire another way, that's more lines of code. You see where I'm going. So far more likely not to happen.
Yeah, like even if you look at ships like the or vehicles like the Blister, it's not firing its missiles vertically, which is probably the one area you'd expect to see those vertical launch missiles. So I think there's the development issue of, as you were just hinting at, the more code to get the vertical launch and getting the missiles to work. So
I would
based on that,
I'd more likely, like when I run it through, is I think you're more likely to see that on some kind of system where people are laser targeting stuff, so the missile travels up and over, so more like artillery and stuff like that. And I think we will get that eventually. So if they do bring that system in, you could obviously port it over to ships and stuff. But I just at the moment, that's a wait and see. That's a really big what if wait and see. But it'd be cool because obviously more the merrier type thing.
I think based on what you were just saying, I could see them bringing it in when they bring in an artillery system, and it becomes the main form of the artillery. The main difference between missiles that are being used for artillery and missiles that are being used for anti-ship or. But that's me again, non-military guy, just postulating and peeing into the wind, as they say. But let's see. Next question, Cascadian. How would you guys feel about different tier prisons for different crimes? I think we actually talked about that. Tier 1 being white collar, Tier 4 being Alcatraz, Tier 5 being death sentence.
And you got to remember, not every system will actually have a prison. So, like, look how annoying it could be. Like, you could be moved 5 systems over, wake up in a place that you have no ships, no nothing, and like, what if you've got a really big ship there and nothing else? Like, do you have to go all the way around? Because man, it's going to become really bad. Like, really, really, really bad. The more you expand it out, it gets worse, not better. So that crime stat thing's got to be fixed sooner rather than later. I actually think that thing's gone right to the front of the queue. It really needs to be fixed. It's that bad. And I hope that we're not the only ones talking about this.
Yep.
Mine,
I do have a question for you, Dawn Stealer, because you've said, haha, found it. So that was my idea for a Hurston prison. Can you actually say again what you were thinking for a Hurston prison? Because it was in chat, and when we're looking at our questions and look, we don't always
they're a little bit
see
out
the
of
chat.
We need the context. Can said, can he jump into voice? Yeah, Can, if you want to talk,
Yeah, sure.
Go for it, man. If you're still there.
He is still there.
All right, well, he'll kick in.
His
when he's
mic's
ready.
off, but unmute yourself and you're free to talk.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll go on to the next question then while we wait. What's the next one, Algared?
The next question was from Dutch Mutt, and his question is...
I will say the questions are getting down to the last few, so if you've got some more questions, put them in, because we always end when the questions end. So if you got more questions, we've got about an hour left. We usually do 3 hours. We're just coming up on 2 hours now. So
Dutch Mutt's question was, if that's your idea for a 200i, what would be your vision for a 500?
I think, well, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I've always wanted Origin to do more. I think that they could build something up at the higher end that is a lot more tailored.
Yeah.
And I also think the other thing you got to look at is you got 200i and you got 500i. You do need to leave numbers open for ships down the road type of thing. So I think you could probably give the 200 or the 500i, but then you're going to have to leave it, because how do you bring out another new ship for Origin? Do you just constantly go into reworks, or do you actually want something new and different? So I think
I think we don't have room for 200 at the moment, just because of the 300, because of the 300s, which are basically starter ships, and the 100s, which are basically starter ships. The 200, what's that? Another starter ship?
Quite honestly, if I was to actually think about what they've done, they pretty much need to rename the 300 series to the 200 series.
You want to bring the 300 down to the 200 series, so that you can bring a...
And with the nature of development, I think, honestly, if anyone here has been here long enough, I don't think the community would even blink at it. They'd be like, yep, that makes a lot of sense, because that leaves room to make a bigger ship, right?
It makes room for that freelancer size ship that people want.
Because quite honestly, the 400 should have been the 500 as well, and then the 400 could have been the freelancer or whatever, but yeah. And I think the 400i only really came about because the 600i grew so much, because it was meant to be a Constellation competitor, as you know, and I would say it's way beyond a Constellation, but I would say
of course it's way beyond a Constellation.
A 400i is kind of under a Constellation, so and that was also meant to be a Constellation competitor, so it's like they can't make up their mind. So yeah.
Well, I think in fairness, the 400 was specifically a Constellation Aquila competitor, as opposed to a regular Constellation. So yeah. What are your thoughts, Can, since you've now unmuted?
Or what did you want to talk about?
I was going to go into the VLS system and explain how it could work, but I'll circle back to that at the end rather than derail the questions at the moment. I think the 400i hits an interesting point. It's a competitor to what the Connie originally was sold as. The problem is the game and the scope has crept, as have the ship sizes. And I'll be honest, I suspect when the Connie finally gets its, hopefully, final rework somewhere towards the end of beta, it'll actually end up going back to being a 600i competitor, because I have a funny feeling it's going to do the Star Citizen usual and grow.
I agree with that when it gets the rework, but it won't get the rework until after Squadron 42's out at the earliest, because it was the groundwork for the ship navigation mesh, and they don't want to redo all that work. That's why we all know it needs a rework. They know it needs a rework, but they're not prepared to do it, because obviously there's all these other systems. Like, it obviously appears in Squadron 42 somewhere, and they don't want to redo those scenes because it's a lot of extra work, and that's the whole reason it's not coming. So yeah.
I remember, I think it was John Crew or someone saying, it's got Chris Roberts' name on it. It's RSI. Do you think he's going to leave it as crap?
Yeah. So Cam, you want to talk about VLS?
Essentially, you know where the Bombay module is and how it opens on the bottom.
Yep.
Take that picture that I showed you and now imagine the bottom of the tally looking like that.
So essentially VLS, but it's firing down.
Yeah, because in space, up and down are interchangeable.
Yep.
Vertical is
that's
about the axis.
That's totally fine, but you also got to remember how missiles fired. I did bring that up as well. So at the moment, currently, missiles don't fire vertically. They kind of like push out sideways and then fly forward, right? Where with a VLS, that thing's got to push out vertically and then turn and then go forward. So that's complete different to how they work. So yeah, eventually I think we will get missiles like that, especially if they want to do mortars and stuff like that. Because at the moment, if you had like a rocket truck, they would just pop the missile. Like if you look at the really good example would be the AI Cyclone. It would pop up, as in come out sideways, and then shoot off. So it already works with the ships. So there's just no. It's a whole new way of how missiles fire. I do think eventually they will have to bring that in. So yeah, I do agree with you. They could do it from out the bottom of the ship, 100%. It just at the moment, they did kind of promise bombs on the Retaliator. So I think the better way to go would be like a cluster missile dropper or something like that, just so it's got in atmosphere functionality as well as the torpedoes in space. But yeah, technically the torpedoes are meant to be able to fire in atmosphere as well. So. Yeah, I think
it's not about trying to change the functionality. It would basically allow the tally to take on more smaller targets. But on the flight model thing, I know exactly what you're talking about. I think that's kind of a get around for collision issues. Because the IFS flight model should be able to deal with the missile coming off and taking a 90 degree as its first turn, because they've shown that in internal testing videos.
True. I think the part that you like, the reason why missiles and torpedoes are in just such a weird place is we just don't have armor at the moment. You know, I think armor's really going to change how missiles and because at the moment, basically missiles don't work so well with shields, where torpedoes seem to just kind of go through shields and or they still do a lot of damage. Where I think once armor comes in, I think that's probably going to be the big difference. I don't know. I could be completely wrong there, but I get the feeling that like the torpedo's like a bunker buster, so it's kind of like it will really hurt armored. Where missiles seem to be more at ships that don't have armor. You guys can correct me if you think I'm wrong there, but we don't have that in game, and I always question, why do we have missiles and torpedoes? So there has to be some kind of reasoning there, and I guess in time we'll see it, but that's just my logic. What do you think, Algared?
I always got the idea that, because I always said, missiles or torpedoes are basically just a larger size missile. So torpedoes start at size 5.
Yep.
Whereas below that they're small, and I think it's akin to the way we've divided gun weapons. So sizes 1 to 4 are anti-fighter. Size missiles 1 to 4 are anti-fighter. Missiles size 5 up are anti-capital ship, just like or anti-large ships, capital ships, just like the lasers are size 5 up, are anti-large ship, capital ship. But
there's also like there is, unlike guns though, there's some massive differences. And what I mean by that, like as soon as you go from missiles have got the speed, but just not the damage. As soon as you go to torpedoes, they get the damage, but they're slow as shit, and they can they basically can be shot. You can't really. Well, I guess you can shoot a missile, but it's a lot harder to shoot. So yeah, I get where you're coming from. So essentially, yeah, you could say that missiles are anti-fighter and torpedoes are anti-large ship. Yeah, I could agree with that too. But I'd also want to see what armor's going to change the game, and I just don't understand why it's not here yet, quite honestly. But we'll see, I guess.
What are your thoughts on that, Can? You're the military guy.
I would agree that missiles are more for your light attack craft. Your torpedoes are your actual, I want to do damage to this thing and it can take a punch. I think the big thing, as you say, if you want to get into the specifics of it, I think the missiles are essentially fragmentation warheads. The torps and up are shape charge warheads for penetrating armor, which explains the damage difference.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, I think until we have armor, I think CIG are, in the nicest possible way, playing with a system that's very incomplete, and they're just doing mending for just now.
Yeah,
because the other thing is, at the moment, that really strikes me as odd, coming from the background I do, is the decoy patterns. Normally, if you're in a large aircraft, you don't punch out one decoy at a time. You punch off a string of like 4 or 5. the fact that we have something the size of a A2 or a hammerhead with the same number of decoys as something the size of an arrow, just to my brain and understanding, having packed these things just doesn't seem ring true.
I would like it to see, like, it's 10 charges of a decoy, 20 charges of a decoy, and when you do one charge, it sends out a string of 3 or 4. Because I agree, you see...
Or even the ability to set how many, like, you can set it somehow, and then every time you press it, it just fires that amount.
Yeah.
There is actually a keybind for that. Unfortunately, you just have to remember to set it every time you get in the cockpit.
There is also, not a lot of people know this, but if you actually hold down the key, it'll actually tick up numbers. So you can actually, like, hold it down and it'll go tick, 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 tick. But by that time, it's shot at you up the arse, so it doesn't make sense. But yeah, you can literally just tick it and then drop like 5 or 6 at once if you really want. But again, it takes too long. What's the next question we're up to?
Let's see. I think we're up to...
Oh, the 200i Gazlaw? Oh, good question. Okay.
Yep. So we're up to Sam Hathaway.
Yep, go for it.
So Sam Hathaway said, what about if there was a mission giver at Grimhex that would give a random UFG go underground facility, I'm assuming.
Same
go to get a tablet that has the code, location, then go back to the terminal, blah, blah.
Same problem. You've got to go all the way to Grimhex.
Yeah.
If it was the same thing, but there was like one on every planet, yeah, that would work. But yeah, you've got to... The half the problem is that they've now taken it from you can go to any planet and go to any security outpost back to just Correa all the way off near Crusader. So basically, why would you want to go to Microtech or Hurston or Arcorp? Because every time something stuffs up, you got to get it fixed. It basically means events need to be locked to around Crusader, which really sucks.
So I now lock myself in at Olisar because I don't want to be at Lawville, at Orison, because it takes so long to get out of that mode.
Yep. So now it almost pulls the desired location, because most people spawn at Lawville right now because it's centrally located. It pulls it back to Horizon, which is again shit because it doesn't run properly at the moment. So anyway, actually, it'll make it Grimhex, but you can't actually spawn at Grimhex. So the most desirable location will just be Hurston. People will fly to Grimhex and then pull all their shit to Grimhex. But yeah, just cart before the horse. Anyway, Dutch Nas. That's why the guide system should be integrated into the Mobieglass. Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
I think you'll get the map system going into the Mobieglass, so all the on-foot stuff. But yeah.
Could this be preparation for Pyro since the station is supposed to be high security? Since Stanton is supposed to be high security.
Feels a bit like that, doesn't it, Fishy? Yeah, it really, really does.
Yep. Although, if you read the law, and the way they keep doing it, Stanton is an absolute mess because you've got 4 corporations, each running their own. They're kind of following UE laws, but their own laws. And then they're being, and if you read Terrell Parker would say the Hurston are absolute maggots, and in most cases they are, because they're just looking at the bottom line. I kind of look at the Hurstons and say, well, if you're stupid enough to sign one of their contracts, and you're now complaining that they are doing what their contract says, and you don't like that contract, well, that's on you.
Yeah. But I think you would agree that they're meant to be taking people that are desperate.
But yeah, they are taking people who are desperate, and they're the old, working for the man. You work at a company store, and the company store's produce that you can buy is more than you're earning, and so it puts you more into debt. The old song, working for the man, and 15 ton, mine 15 tons, and at the end of the day, you still owe. You go to a company store and you still owe your body and soul. Don't call Peter because I can't come. I owe my soul to the company. That type of thing. But yeah, so don't get old man Hurston saying that the Hurstons are all nice and cuddly and warm at face value. Here's a Hurston. And the Hurstons are not very nice.
But
yeah.
Same person again, Fishy2951 asks, do you think they'll have FPS jump points? Now, I'm assuming you mean first-person jump points, but how does a person go through a jump point? They're meant to be rare and only out in kind of space, so unless you're talking about some kind of short teleporter type stuff, and again, they want that real interactivity, I'm a little... I think it's fairly obvious they won't, but Algared?
Places where you fight to go through the jump point?
A station near a jump point? Yeah, I could see that. If that's what he means, but yeah, maybe update us with a question there, Fishy, because that's a little vague.
Yeah.
And we'll go...
or it's a bit out of context of where we are now.
Yeah. So yeah, just update. Give us a more detailed question there, Fishy, and we'll jump into that a bit more detailed.
B20B farming says, will the grey market always be around after the game is out?
Depends if they keep selling ships, I think. And you know, if someone wants a ship that they can only get through the grey market, if they, like, say for example, they turn off the ability to buy a constellation, and you've got, you can get the constellation for money, or you can grind it. Some people just won't have the time, so they will buy it.
Yep.
So, yeah, but it depends if they turn that off. It'll seem.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. All right. So Fishy just asked. Someone said Stargate, and I just asked the question on the lark because I thought it would be interesting. Yeah, I have actually brought that up in other things, like, wouldn't it be really cool if you find an alien civilization? It turns out that they have a mini Stargate system. So instead of having to travel from the very bottom of the solar system to the galaxy to the top, there might be a cheat that just takes you from there to there, you know, like the four corners of the galaxy as such. So you can, you know, but you have to actually do an epic quest line and actually travel there by ship first, and you know, you can unlock maybe one, then the other, and then the other, then the other. Yeah, I have actually brought up something like that in the past.
God help you if you use one of those and end up in a Vandal system. Oh shit.
That could be a part of it. You could even have one that malfunctions and it sends you to one randomly. You can see the fun you could have with that.
Yep.
Hey, what if it sends you into a system that you can't get any? There's no access in or out of. You know, there's no jump
system,
point.
Yeah, it sends you to a system where the jump points crash.
That would be a really great way to do it if you think about it. So instead of actually finding the jump point, you go in there and then you find the jump point on the other side to get out, but it's like a one-way jump point. And you're kind of trapped in there till you get out. Well, that's again, that
how to deal with griefers.
Taking the fun away from the player type analogy then again, though. So yeah.
How to deal with griefers? Send them to their own server.
I think I can see there like a real use for multiple accounts all of a sudden, because if you are stuck in something or inside an event, like if you're stuck in the Siege of Orin or something, and a friend wants you to come do an event, if you can jump onto a second account and just play, it'd be really cool if you could somehow link accounts to share ships, and that way you could just have multiple accounts. So if you end up in prison, it's like, cool, I'll just log out and log in here and keep going.
Well, I know at one point that's one of the things they did talk about. If you had multiple accounts on multiple packages on an account, you would be in that situation where you could actually allocate ships to accounts. But that was talked about like 2014 as options.
Yeah.
I know that being able to move across to help a friend was kind of the, you're stuck doing Siege of Orison. You don't want to move a character, but your friend's over in Pyro needing help. The idea of agent smithing was the idea you'd move across and take over an NPC and be able to help them, but your character would actually still be in Orison, but you'd be able to go there temporarily, help them out, do whatever. But there's lots of issues where that could be open to exploitation, and I'm not sure where they're going with that, but it's certainly something they have talked about.
Is that nice to see Star Jump in chat? I'm going to assume that's Graham, but it could be any of them because they all get around. So, yeah, who are we talking to in chat? Star Jump. Nice to see you, regardless. Next question, Algared.
I'm just going to jump in just to follow up, because I was looking at the star map before the stream today. There is actually systems on the Arc star map that don't actually have any connecting jump points, by the way.
Yes, there is at least one.
Yeah, there was one that was there, and then it got the jump
Yep.
point closed and there's people on the other side and they don't know what they're like, if they're still there or what's going on. But they actually had people that moved in to not civilize it, but they moved in to live
But
there.
they had moved in. They actually had settled it. There was
Yeah.
a UEC system. People had moved there, and the jump point collapsed. And there's, we there might be other jump points that found, but we certainly don't have a jump point to that system anymore. So yeah.
So you can tell that will be an event at some point where that opens again and it'll open up for a limited time or something like that. But that'll definitely be a thing. We're good, Grim. Hope you guys are well. When are you streaming next? We haven't seen a stream for a long time. I thought you were dead. Obviously that's been exaggerated, but yeah. News of your death of
So
greatly.
question for Grim that he can think about. Are you as annoyed or frustrated with the changes they're suggesting to Correa and prison as we are?
Yeah, we've kind of ranted about it way too much today.
We have, but hey, it would be good to get Grim's at least
Oh, cool.
in
Grim
chat.
will be streaming next week, so that's good. But yeah, if you've seen ISC, we think they've just had a real oversight where they had all the security out. But you remember when it used to just be Korea and you had to travel all the way there to get rid of your crime stat, and then they put them all out and had all the security outposts, so it was not that so bad that you could always just go to the planet you're on and get rid of it. Now they've moved it just back to Korea, and they've put all that extra shit they're forcing you into P versus P, and they haven't done anything with the crime stats. So you can literally just tip a turret as you're trying to fly a ship in, get a level 1 crime stat, get shot to shit, and then have to either go to Korea or die and go to prison. And I think at the point now, everyone's just going to die in a prison and log out. Because like if you got half an hour and it's real bugged in there at the moment, it's just stupid. Yeah, watch ISC and watch it with a new player hat on, and I'd love to just hit me up on Discord. But I haven't seen anyone else talking about it yet, but I'm just hoping there's a lot of noise that comes out about it, because it's anyone that's been watching the stream is probably sick of being Algared at this point, because we've been going on and on about it for almost 3 hours.
We're rather frustrated by it. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least on first look. So yeah.
Yeah. What's the next question, Algared?
Dutch Mutt has a question. He says they could or a statement. He says they could always do what they do with 300, 315, 325, etc. 500, 515, 525, etc. Yes, they could.
That's true. But generally, those names are for variants, so that's again breaking.
That would be breaking the mold.
Breaking a convention, yeah.
Whereas they're 100 level, 200 level, 300 level, 400. They're actually different classes of. I suppose it's probably a better way of looking at it. So. The first number of a class, second number, the type.
Fishy2951 asks, what would you propose for your ideal light or medium fighter? Well, I think we have some.
Since we've got Can here.
Yeah,
Can.
maybe us can, but I was just gonna say we do have some good medium and light fighters in the game already. Look at the Gladius; it's really popular. The Arrow's really popular. Anyway, Can, what's your?
Can. What would you propose for your ideal light or medium fighter?
I'm going to be really cheesy and use the one that we already know is in game, and it's an F7AM. This 2-seater variant of an F7A.
So the Super Hornet.
And that would be your medium or your light?
Isn't that a heavy fighter?
It's medium, I
Medium.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yep.
My bad. All right.
The F8 is a heavy.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
talking
and
about basically the Super Hornet, but the actual military version of the Super Hornet.
Oh, so not the C, right? Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
The F7M as opposed to the F7CM.
Again,
But
like
yep.
I come back to things like I just got to bring armor back in there again. There's a reason why the Hornet sucks at the moment, is because it just doesn't have the armor. And you look at chips like even the Redeemer at the moment. The Redeemer's got nothing but shields. So it's got a huge advantage right now. But once armor comes in, that's going to completely shift. It's like, we've only got half the cake. Well, we've only got the hull and the shields, but we don't have the armor. So, like, look at how much that's going to change. You're going to get ships like, look at the Hammerhead. The Hammerhead's got armor all over like crazy, but they can be totally incinerated by some ships at the moment.
It's like punching through a paper bag. Yep.
Yep. And the Hornet's another really good example. That thing's not in the meta at all. But when the armor comes in, it'll probably change it completely. You know, and you look at all the really popular fighters at the moment, like the Arrow and the Gladius, they don't have any armor.
Yeah.
You know, so
they've got, or compared to a Hornet, they've got no armor.
Well, you gotta look. You gotta remember the Arrow initially had 2 shields.
Yeah.
And I think that harkens back to a design where armor was a factor.
Yeah.
And I think it probably will get 2 shields back eventually, but it's not until all the armor comes in.
Yeah,
you know, that's
because
why
when the armor comes in, it won't have the
advantage. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but like maybe I'm wrong. You got to remember, it's just everything. There's all this flux, all this balance, and
Yeah.
man, a little question for you, Ken. But how much real world stuff is just not in this game yet? I've got to assume it's more than just armor, at this point. Like the flight system, they talked about that on the roadmap.
It's a whole list of things, in all honesty. Admittedly, you're in space, so your aerodynamic loading for things like missiles and torpedoes would be a lot less, but yeah, there's a whole bunch of things like how you would defeat a missile in like something like an Arrow or a Gladius versus how you would defeat it in something like a Vanguard, for example, would be vastly different. The other thing is, like, a Sentinel should be, if it's got half the capability of, say, something like an F8, E18G, should basically be borderline unhittable.
Well, see, I also look at, say, something like missiles, and I think missiles should work for flares, so to speak. You know, you can flare off a missile, but I think a torpedo, you have to shoot it down. You either have to outrun it because it's slower, or shoot it down. And I think when you made it like that, it clearly puts torpedoes more in that larger ship category because they can't move as well, right? So they've got to shoot it down. Where missiles, I think you can kind of, at the moment, I don't think you really should be able to outrun them as much, but I think that's where the flares need to come in. You have to strategically, you've got a limited number of flares and you got to use them. So if you stay out for prolonged fights, and eventually someone's going to turn up with a missile and you're screwed. Because at the moment, like, some of the ships have got ridiculous numbers of flares and chaff and all that stuff. And yeah, I do think certain missiles need chaff instead of flares. And that's totally fine. But at the moment, torpedoes are like if you ever try to use an Eclipse against a player, good luck. You know, you're stuffed. Same thing with a Retaliator. Like back in the day when you could shoot from 25 kilometers out, that was amazing. But even then, if they saw it coming, one shaft and the whole thing would just miss.
Yeah.
And that I think has to change. But again, I think it's a time thing. We'll see what happens.
The size of the missile and the size of the guidance package and the sensors you can fit onto something that's the size of a size 9 torpedo should actually give it a much greater decoy rejection rate. So, like, say somebody shoots at you with a size 9 out of an Eclipse, you should maybe have to punch out like a. I'm going to use the word pattern because it's the terminology I used. I know. So you should have to put out like a pattern of like 4 or 5 flares, decoys, and also throw a maneuver into the ship so that you're actually breaking the line of lock. And then the ship that is not where the missile expects it to be, whereas like say a size 1, size 2, it hasn't got the space, the weight capability to carry the sensors, the computer system and everything to do that. So
how do you guys...
even if you're in an A2, you could just punch out like one flare and it just goes, ooh, bright thing, bye.
How do you guys feel about because this is the question I have. If you're taking a torpedo and you're firing a torpedo at a fighter, right? Do you think that because you've paid a lot of money, like, because in some cases we know that, like, say a torpedo from a Polaris costs the price of an Avenger, do you think that should mean that you're more, you get where I'm trying to go with here with the balance, right? Like, does that mean you should guarantee that you're going to kill it because it costs a lot of money, but you're using an overkill weapon on a fighter? Or do you think the fighter should have some kind of chance? Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say. Because, like, is it a price versus balance thing? Yeah, I don't know. I kind of put that question out there.
I don't think so. I think what you balance it on is a size 9 torpedo is huge. That thing is like, if you're in an Avenger, okay, you might not
But what
necessarily have the flares to get away from it, but what you should be able to do is, like, if you can fly your Avenger well, you just turn inside the torpedo fast enough, and eventually
Well, I think
you're flying one way and it's flying the other, and it can't lock you at that point.
Well, I think it should be able to, torpedoes should be able to reacquire locks. Like someone in chat saying the same thing I'm thinking. And so basically, I think you should have to shoot it. So if you can fly backwards and shoot it, I think it should be difficult for a fighter to kill one, right? But I think it should be doable, right?
Yep.
But I think it almost, like, you fire, like, if that ship is just annoying the shit out of you, you fire the torpedo at it, and it's right, that then becomes a fight. Instead of a fight with you,
It's a dogfight with the torpedo.
exactly, because you've spent a lot of money to fire that, and so they have to take care of that so you can escape or whatever,
Yep.
you know.
And I think if the torpedo hits the fighter, it's dead.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think
because-
it's a balance thing. The fighter's just gonna be able to have
but the fighter does need. The fighter should need to have to. It shouldn't be I fire a torpedo, therefore you're dead. It should be.
Yeah.
And I think the speed
It
of a
just-
torpedo kind of factors into that.
Changes the
But that
game.
need
So
to-
instead of the fighter just like keep flying and keep shooting at you and just flying and flying and flying until it runs out of fuel, I think it should basically make them have to either turn and fight it or aggressively say pull it, like, you know, fly behind an asteroid or something to get rid of it. Yeah.
Basically, they have to go defensive and evasive so that you
That's
and
it.
your whatever can run away.
100%.
So I think we're in agreement on that one.
Johnny Cash is the next question. Any reasonable expectations for ship modules next year? Cat Tully Vanguard. I kind of come back to the whole thing about like, and I'll use the Caterpillar example. Like we have revisited the video they did on the Cat when they, you know, they were really open about where they were talking about modules for that, and there was actually like 11 modules. My whole thing comes back to, I think they were realizing it was going to affect sales of future ships, because, like, why would you buy a salvage ship, a hospital ship, a drop ship, or whatever, if you can just get those in the modules for one ship? And that's what they're scared of. They're scared of modules from a sales perspective, because it's like, well, why would I buy 4 ships when I can buy 1? Even though it doesn't do all those 4 as well as the niche ones, and we'll all agree on that. I think we can see the sense in that. It's a balancing factor. But just why, if I can't afford 4 ships, I just buy 1.
Yep.
And so most people would just buy the 1 and then earn the other sideways.
Why spend? I've got my Cat. Why spend $270 or whatever it is on Apollo? Buy even $100 medical module for the Cat.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, if a ship has modules, just get the modular one and then earn sideways. You know, that's one of the reasons why I've kept the Cat, because it's just so damn like if it turns out to be horseshit and it's just put it this way, if it stayed the way it is right now, the advantages of that ship is the fact that it can hold 8 crew by default, and it's got the command ship on the side, so it's still got some things that the other ships don't have. But just adding 1 module instantly puts it above the Hercules for me, right? Above the cargo module. And I just don't see them designing a ship like that and not putting the modules in. And also they've promised it, so they tend to keep their word. I just don't see them breaking that. I do think modules as a whole are kind of like the whole thing with the Endeavour. It's all just been pushed to the back because all that gameplay's got to come online before they can do them, right?
Yep.
So I'm trying to think of a ship that doesn't have a lot of modules, and the only one I can really kind of think of is, say, something like the Redeemer, right? So they're most likely they've got the long range fighter escort one. They've talked that the most about likely they're going to add the dropship one.
Ship.
That's pretty easy to do. But then we also assume that they'll have some kind of cargo one and a bounty hunter one. The bounty hunter one, it just allows you to put modules like inside in the cargo bay, right? So essentially it's just a cargo bay and that. So when you go to, so I think that's probably one of the highest contenders. The other one is obviously the Vanguard, because the Vanguard's already got the variants. It's just allowing you to swap it over. So they're probably I'd probably say the Vanguard's the first one we'll see. But also, you don't have the Sentinel gameplay, as in the e-warfare stuff. So it's what comes first,
Mm.
right? So because I would actually say all the gameplay is there for the Redeemer, they've just actually got to make the modules. So it's again Squadron 42 holding it up. So we'll see.
Yep. Next question from Fishy. He says, Do you think the Tally will ever get pilot weapons besides the missiles?
Well, that's another interesting one, isn't it? We talked about this briefly a couple of months back. It went onto the roadmap earlier this year for a 6-month thing, and the only thing at the time you and I could see was the door, wasn't it? Do you remember this? And I said there is no way that takes 6 months to do a door. So we also believe, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Algared, so you can speak for yourself if you wish, but that currently has 5 turrets or 5-man turrets that only has size 2s. And if you've ever been in the Vanguard on a size 2 turret, it feels weak as piss. So one of the things we're expecting is them to lower the number of the turrets but upgun them. And I would say, you correct me if I'm wrong, Al, but I think that's probably a 3-person ship, not a 5-person ship.
So one of the things we even suggested with those size 2 turrets is even if they kept the size 2 turrets but made them linked, so you've still got a gunner, but those 2 turrets on that one side are working together, or they take them out and increase the size of them. Yeah,
so essentially you had a guy, so at the moment, with where they are, I'm not going to worry about, but essentially wherever the top gunner is, he can control all the top turrets, and the bottom gunner would control all the bottom ones and just make them remote, because that means you wouldn't have to kind of rework a lot of the exterior. But I think that's what's happening. They are reworking a lot of the exterior of that ship. So obviously because they're redoing the door, once they've got to do the door, they've actually got to redo the whole exterior of the ship, which means it's also got to do a rework, a retexture, and a re-unwrap. Once you do that, you might as well go to town and do the whole thing. So they could do what Algared and I just said, and they could actually go from 4 turrets down to just 2, and you could have like one really big one up the top and one really big one down the bottom. They literally can do that now.
The other thing they could be doing is just
show us the Tally gold standard. What's apparently holding it back is actually getting the modules to work, because the base is on the roadmap. I don't know if you're aware of that. And one of the big changes is to make the base, the bomber basically becomes a base plus the modules, whereas at the moment the way that the torpedoes work, they can't do that with modules, and this is apparently where it all went a bit wrong, because CIG did admit to this.
But they also talked about the door, because the docking collar was initially on the bottom between the elevators, and what they've done is they've removed one of the elevators and the docking collar now goes up the wall. But if you actually look at the Retaliator, and I'll try and bring up an image, just give me a second. This is always better with
pictures.
Yep. It's a horrible side location they picked to try and fit that docking collar.
So I'm just going to use this one directly from, of course it's tiny. Oh wait, maybe it's not. Hold on. So if you can see there, where was it? It's basically here. So because it's at an angle, as you just said, it's a really terrible angle. So basically, they're going to have some kind of telescopic thing or whatever. I'm going to be honest with you, it's going to really change the look of the way this ship looks.
Yeah.
I honestly think what they're going to do is they're probably going to have a straight bit in here, and so this whole neck is going to change. It's not going to look the same as it did. It's going to be kind of akin to what happened to the Redeemer, where you remember how the Redeemer got fat and the Carrot got fat and people complained about it? Exact same thing.
Oh, and people will always complain on changes because we don't like change. But I think you could even, some of the changes they make in their rework could be even just the way they've laid out the modules, how the modules are fitting in, how they're working, even the rooms. So much they could change just to make it work.
So some people are saying in chat that it's going to grow. I don't think it will grow, because also I think they're going to reduce the number of people by 2. This is currently, with the turrets, a 5-person ship, because there's 1 up, 1 down, and then 2 at the back or whatever. But I actually think that what they're going to do is, again, it's too big. It's like, believe it or not, if you look at the price of the Retaliator base, that's actually in Freelancer Cutlass territory, not. But I do think it falls into the daily driver domain. And it is the size of almost a Connie, right? But I just think it just doesn't need that many people. I think 5 is way too many. Like, to put it in perspective, the Constellation and the Freelancer both are 4 people. The Corsair is 4 people. The Mercury Star Runner is 3 people. You can see where I'm going here? Like, the number is way too high. This was the first ship of the big ones to ever go in the game, then the Starfarer. So we're talking about, like, this thing is really showing its age. And I think you can clearly see the trend. A lot of those bigger ships are losing their player count. You know, they're going down.
Does it have 5 or
minimum
6
of
beds
5,
in it?
5 or 6?
It's basically got with the driver and the turrets, it's 5 people.
And there's also the engineering station, so you're even
but you would just
possibly
cycle.
wanting to chuck that, but
No.
yeah,
There's only
you'd put one of your gunners doing that role.
there's 5 beds. We'll leave it at that, right?
Yep.
And when you look at it like that, it is really showing its age. Like a ship this small that's got 5 beds, but like you can very quickly see if you drop it back to 3, you can remove that awkward bed that the captain has on the side, and you can put them up top near the top turret, and you could basically just have 3 beds around the outside, and they're bigger and stuff like that. In fact, if I was going to cut anything from the ship, it probably might even be that second deck. You know, so if they can get rid of that second deck and it just becomes a turret, I don't know. There's multiple ways they can go with it. It is a very cool looking ship, but I don't think it will grow. I think it will change its shape though, just because of the docking collar. But yeah, it's not gonna be like this old one. Mainly because of the door, and I don't know. You guys tell me what you think, but based on the trend we've been seeing, I think this is going to drop to 3 people, just because that's the minimum you can kind of get away with your pilot, a top turret gunner, and a bottom turret gunner. And if someone gets in trouble, one of the turret gunners go and do the repairs. Like, I could just see that, but yeah, I'll have to wait and see.
Yep,
I definitely see it going down to 4. I would also personally, I'd like the forward cannons to be a little larger, but that's a personal visual thing.
I wouldn't be surprised, because if they did drop it to 3, if the pilot got some guns, I could see that as well. So giving the pilot some guns, and then having a back turret gunner, and basically so when it's being chased, it can shoot backwards, and wherever the other turret gunner is, either it's the bottom or the top or whatever, but they're at the front. They're the ones that gets out and goes and does the engineering repairs. I could see that for 3, but yeah, I agree with what you said too, Ken. I think at minimum it's going to drop to 4, but I think my brain's telling me 3. But well, hey, we'll wait and see. We could be completely wrong.
Yep. Okay. Fishy has a second question that follows up on that one, which was well, it's not really a follow up, but it's another question by Fishy. He says, why do we have size 6 guns in game when we don't have any ships that can actually equip a size 6 gun at present?
Different teams working on different things, and someone was just able to do the size 6 guns, so the size 6 guns are there for ships that are coming that will have size 6 guns eventually. And
we do have size 6 guns in game. They're on the turret platform, so they're actually in game. It's just that they put them in the market because, hey, they're there, but yeah. So I think that's why we've got them. They were there, they were done, they had to be done, they could put them in the game, so they in the store, so they did.
Thank you for the super chat, Mike Smith. Coffee time, enjoy, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Having a coffee is always good. I'm out of geisha at the moment, so yeah. Moving right along. Is from Monster AV, and he said, do you guys think they will make a newer military explorer aggressive recon ship? Wishing for a ship between the Carrack and the Perseus, maybe 1 to 2 size 6 gun turrets and 1 to 2 point defense guns.
Yeah, see,
that almost sounds like a Perseus to me.
It almost sounds like a Polaris, to be honest, as well. Military explorer is very different from a combat ship, right? So one of the reasons why the the Carrack has so much, like it just seems like it does everything. It's that ship that everyone wants because on paper it does everything. The thing is, relatively turret gun speaking, like you don't have a lot of guns on that ship. That ship, if you were to say put it up against a Redeemer, I'd expect the Redeemer to absolutely flatten it, right? Because it's out in the black. It's not meant to be around other people. That's why it does so much, because when it's out and away, they've only got themselves to rely on. But as soon as you bring the Carrack into system, it should be at a huge disadvantage. It's meant to be alone. It is a lone wolf ship, and I think people, like, right now in game, you see people bring them into events so people can respawn. Fair enough, because we don't have the Apollo. But I down the road, I just don't think the Carrack's a ship you're going to see too often, right? Like, if you're seeing it, they're coming back or they're going. They're not, I think people have a very weird misconception of some of the ships in this game. But yeah, from the talks that we've had, that thing is alone. Would you disagree with that, Algared, or?
It's a deep space explorer. It's the type of ship that is going to the edges of the system and exploring the system. It's the one that's, like, even in lore, it goes out looking for those ships that are on the edges of a system, the wrecks, the relics, and it's checking those out. It's checking out the space anomalies in the system.
I would say most of the ships, not all. So I think the weird exception is the kind of ones in the middle ground. But if you look at the Terrapin, the Carrack, and the Odyssey, they all have that overarching theme, don't they? Right? Where the other ships like the Corsair, the Aquila, the ones that are kind of either variants or fall more,
or the next level down, or
they
something
fall
like
into that general daily driver role, right? They're not really a dedicated explorer, because I don't think they are dedicated. You can fight me on that if you want, but the Aquila feels like, when they're a variant, they feel a bit tacked onto me. But the Corsair, again, we can argue the whole piracy thing, but I think, yeah, there's probably room there for a dedicated explorer at that size, and you could probably chuck the 400i in there as well. They just don't seem dedicated to exploration like those other three that I mentioned were. They give up a lot of gun power to get this. Like, look at the utility mounts on the Terrapin. That thing is just utility mounts. And it's got 2 little guns and that's it. And then it hunkers down with defense. And I think the Odyssey's the same. And the Carrack, because they're out there, they don't need all those guns. Yeah, they've got them, but not to the same extent. Like, if you put a Polaris right next to the Carrack, that's, or a Hammerhead. There you go. There's another one. Like, that thing's bristling with guns. So it's every ship for its role.
Yep.
Next question, please.
Jonas Morrissey has a question. They say the video thumbnail is, what is the new vehicle variant? Have you spoken about it yet?
Oh shit! Have I not changed the thumbnail?
Maybe you didn't change the thumbnail.
I'm pretty sure I did. Oh my god, have I done that again?
You did say at the beginning, I think I've forgotten something. Maybe that's actually what you did forget.
Probably what I forgot. No, but I remember updating it.
Get it saved.
Now I feel really bad. Really bad.
We'll get used to it.
Trying. Nah. Yep. I forgot to change the thumbnail. God damn it. Well, that sucks.
Well. So yes, the thumbnail was forgotten to get changed. You did say right at the beginning, I'm forgetting something. I can't remember what it is, and I did say we'd probably remember.
That's really weird, because I changed the title, but I didn't change the thumb. Okay, well, that's really weird. I remember changing the thumb, but yeah. Well, it's changed.
So
now.
that's what's going on, Jonas. We apologise for that misconception.
Well, I apologise to everyone that joined, hoping to talk about the new ship and stuff that we talked about last week. But yeah.
Yeah, that was from last week's show. This week's is yeah. We won't go back into it because we'll start ranting again. So let's see. Fishy2951 has a question. Someone said Stargate, and I just asked the same question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maxol TV. Do you think CIG allow combat PvP inside a jump point? I think that was like FPS 1. I think at one point they did suggest that might be a case, but where they go with that, I have no idea. Mike Field says escape pods will be able to be used. Will be able to use escape pod as a secret storage for goods and quickly pop off to be retrieved by others with the marker at a later time. Hey, I could see that being a thing.
No, I disagree.
You know, it's you're smuggling those drugs, put them in your escape pod, dump it out, and then you pick up. You know, I go on my recovery mission to save that poor person who's out in space. Oh, look, drugs. Yeah, I could see that.
I think recovery missions will change in the future, and it'll just be broadcast, and the first person there gets whatever pod, etc., to pick up. So you better make sure that whoever's coming for your drugs or whatever is close by.
Yeah,
I could see that being used as a ship exchange. You know, you go there, you put them in the escape pod, you dump it out. The ship that's there to retrieve it picks up the pod, and on all the scanners, it would be looking like you're picking up you're retrieving a pod. But yeah,
that is essentially what the caterpillar is, isn't it? That's the where you bring the loot back to, so to speak, and it tractor beams it, you know, off your cutlass.
Yeah, sucks it into its hold. Yep.
Hopefully,
it also depends on the price of escape pods as well. That might get pricey.
Well, Drake don't have escape pod, so they're not going to be doing that.
Yeah, hopefully this is the last week of my camera freezing, by the way. I ordered a new capture card thing, and it's really weird. It's been sitting at the same location since Tuesday, and they're delivering it next Tuesday. So it's literally like 20 minutes down the road. I don't understand why it hasn't been delivered, but yeah. So hopefully there's a last stream that we have to put up with this for a while.
But Moist Noodle and Space Tomato was giving suggestions on capture cards when they were talking, and it's one they kind of suggested, I think, or some of the problems that we were having seem to be things they said, hey, it's this, and I know Execute. Oh yeah, it's not working. It is doing that thing. So hopefully this will actually solve those problems.
Well, it seems to have solved yours, so hopefully I get the same result.
Yep.
Right, next question. We are... yeah, go ahead.
Dutch Mutt has a question. He says, on the topic of ship sharing.
I just remembered what I was going to say, sorry. Yeah, we are going to cut off the questions because we've still got like about 15 to go, and we've got about 9 minutes left because I do have to run. I've got a nurse coming to do my hand.
Okay, so Dutch Mutt says, on the topic of ship sharing between accounts, do you think there will ever be the ability to share ships or flagships for org hangar type thing? Yes. It's one of the things they've talked about in the past.
What was the question again? Sorry, I'm trying to
will we have org hangars and be able to share ships with our org?
They did talk about it way back when on the last one I heard about it was on Wingman's hangar. Yeah, I'm going back that far. And it was an upside down step pyramid. I don't know if you remember that, but that's...
I can vaguely remember hearing them talk about it. Because I came after Wingman's hangar was gone. And I did watch for Wingman's hangars, but I can remember seeing it as a live. So they have talked about it. It's the type of thing they know that orgs want. So yeah. It may have even been talked about in terms of the Million Mile High Club, because they did know that a lot of the people who own that were looking at using that facility as their org HQ and org hangars. So Dutch Mutt has another question. He says, would save having to wait, he adds on, would save having to wait for one person who owns a crack to log if it was able to be org flown? Yes. And that's part of the reason why. Maxwell TV says, what do you think would give a system named Griefers? So what name would you give a system for system Griefers? You got this?
Sorry, I'm doing multiple things in the background still. What was the question?
If you were naming a system that was being, where you were dumping all your griefers, what would you name the system?
Troll.
Troll.
Okay.
Yep, that works. What about you, Can? What would you name it?
The Abyss.
The Abyss.
I think CIG have already told us because it's pyro. Because it's going to be a dumpster fire.
Does feel a little bit like that. I tend to agree. With
Yeah,
that
but
one.
the idea, I think the idea was, you know, that can't remember the place where they talked about they had these Nazis invading the game, so they just created a system, and only the Nazis were put into that into that shard.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was that. I can remember at one point Chris talking about years ago, say, you know, if people kept griefing, they'd just put them off into their own private shard where all those like people were just dumped, and eventually they're just all, yeah, you want to be antisocial and act like that, well, there you go, do it over there. But that's certainly, I don't think that's where they're heading these days. Janice Morrissey has a question talking about smart torpedoes being able to reacquire targets. I have no idea why this isn't a thing. We need them like Star Trek Voyager episode Sentient AI.
Yeah, it just all comes back to Squadron 42. They'll be completely different in Squadron 42 to how they'll be in the PU. And I think that's why armor's not a thing. Quite honestly, like when you run it through, do you really need armor in a single player game? No, you don't. You can fake it. You can literally fake it in a single player game. You can't fake it in a PvP game, right? And I think that's why it's not in there, because your shields you have to have on, right? Because you got the visual component of the shields, but the armor you can just fake it with numbers, right? Because you can have the physical armor there, but unless it's actually like panels breaking off or whatever, and we won't have that in the PU, it'll just be, you know, like a reduction of the damage you take or whatever, or different damage types. They can fake all that in a single player game. So that's probably why we haven't seen it. Every time you think someone's not in, or you get even those things, like I said, with Level Cap, where he did 10 fixes we need in the game right now, you've got to look at it through a single player lens. And as soon as you do that, you just go, oh, that's why it's not there. Or, you know, why you can conclude some things are there and others aren't.
Yeah.
The other thing is, in lore, I believe we don't have AI.
Yep. But I think having the smart torpedoes and the torpedo's ability to relock does work, and or should work, and it would make sense. And this ties in with the question from Voodoo Child, which is, it's been said many times that Star Citizen is about choices. So why would using a torpedo also be a small ship killer? And I think it ties into what we were saying before. And I know this question would have come up when we were doing that discussion, Voodoo, but I think it's that idea of, okay, if that torpedo does hit the fighter, it should kill it because it's so much bigger. But it shouldn't just be an automatic kill. There should be that, as we're talking about, that fighter should have to either, you know, if you ignore it, yeah, it's going to hit you and blow you up. So you've got to deal with it all. Certain
ships don't have missiles.
Yeah.
That's simple. But yeah, you know, if you're, I'm just thinking of something like the Perseus that was it? No, that's just got torpedoes. Is it missiles or torpedoes? It's torpedoes in the Perseus. Yeah. So
torpedoes are the big ship killers. So yeah.
So I'm trying to think of a ship that has both. So the closest one I can think of is probably the Polaris, because it does have those size 9s, but I'm pretty sure it's got missiles as well. So when
Gladiator, it's got missiles and size 5s.
There you go. So you know, right tool for the right job and stuff like that. But you know, say you're all out of missiles, you still want to be able to have, you know, just like the guns, you know, like there are advantages to size 5s and there's advantages to size 4s, you know. Yeah, it's going to
all be balanced based on probability of kill. And you doing the right thing. It's not an auto win. It's just making the balance work.
You took the words right out of my mouth. It's all going to come down to balance.
Look, I can remember doing, you know, flying doing the missions in a Retaliator ages ago, and we were being attacked by players, and sometimes I would fire a missile off, torpedo off, just because it meant they had to move it, you know, change their vector of attack just to avoid the missile, and that enabled us to change so we could actually move away as well. But it wasn't ideal, and it certainly wasn't working in that same way we were talking, but it certainly was giving us that ability to move away a little bit more. But I think it'd be better to see that even more and more developed.
we did close the questions off, but there's a really interesting one there that Paul Robertson just dropped. What are your thoughts on personal drones or companion bots? I just put that under pets. So I would say, yeah, we're getting them because we're getting pets. But yeah.
Yep.
Also personalized NPCs.
Yeah.
Same deal.
Yep.
Army 2, Willis, do you want to do that one?
And thanks, Misfit, for that uber little gift there.
Great show, keep doing what
Glad
you
you're
do.
enjoying it.
Yeah, he says, great show, keep doing what you do. Yeah, thanks, Misfit. We will.
Yep. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah. So,
Army
2 Willis, question. Yep. I think that salvage will be much like mining with many materials gained from scrapping. What do you guys think? Yes. So from our conclusions, you've got mining of ore and you've got mining of liquid and gas, and salvage has the advantage of being able to get both, but then it's got the extra process of sorting it out and, working it back into which materials go where, and then handing that off to the refinery, obviously, as well. So,
and even handing it back to the refinery to break that down into the original parts, so you can.
So basically, if you think of salvaging like recycling what the mining ore and the mining gas have already done, but they get to do both because they've got an extra process they've got to do, and that makes sense from a balance point. 2 processes, but you get 2 items, or you get 1 process and you get 1 item. That makes sense to me.
Yep. So Biker Scout has a question from us from Twitch. He says, "Do you think that we will get different variants of the MSR, like swapping the scanning room for medroom?"
Anything is possible, but no.
Yeah. That would be my take. They can do it. I don't think they will.
Especially when you've got a Polar around there at the same size too. Similar price point. What is it? I think one variant is cheaper and one variant is more expensive than the MSR. So that's definitely a no for me.
So, certainly not in the near future. I think down the track they may do an MSR variant that or a module that, but
I'm actually
not in the near future.
I'm going to be honest. I'm surprised a ship as small as the 600i got a tier 2 medical bed, or is going to get one. That really surprised me.
Well, it is. The 600i is a fairly big ship, and it is only the exploration version that does get there.
Yeah,
so,
which again it's because it's similar to the Carrack, so I can see their thought process there. But like other than the Carrack, the only other ship is like $1,000. So it's and then you're getting ships. There's only a few ships on that list, right? So it's a bit exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. When you look at the ships that have that size 2 med bed, it's a very small group, certainly under the $1,000 mark. So yeah.
All right, we're down to the last 4 questions, so I'm going to do a bit of rapid fire round because I am failing fast here because I've also not slept very well. So B2B Farming asks question: with the salvage coming out, will the ship not exposed anymore, or will be
explode?
Based on damage? Oh, explode anymore, or will be based on damage? No, because that system's not in yet. I'm almost expecting that when we do the hull stripping, it's going to leave that frame behind, and you can actually see what the munching part will be, because that'll be the munching part, but that's not coming into March next year. I think when we did that professional point of view, I think we hit the nail literally right on the head what it's going to be, and I've not heard any different to how that is. And most people, when you talk about stripping the skin off and the hull being alive, they're like, what are you talking about? They don't understand conceptually what it is. But I think when it comes out, people are going to look back at the video. Well, maybe they'll look back at the videos and go, oh god, those guys called it ages ago.
That's what they were talking about.
Yeah. So to me it makes so much sense. It's just that the texture is removed, because when you remove the texture, so say the ship's blue or the ship's red, it doesn't matter, because once you take the texture off and it's just that frame underneath, the ship's the same, and so therefore you can break it up the same every single way, and it won't look different because it won't worry about damage or anything like that. And so you can just munch up the frame, and it'll basically almost have preconceived pieces for every single frame underneath. And again, because it's a model underneath a model, it can break in different parts that the one above doesn't have to be broken in. So it's double advantages.
I could also see that question tying in with what we were originally thinking of, basically doing our show on this week. So
there's a couple of shows. So me and Algared always keep a list, and there's a couple of shows that we've been talking about. But I think that show about the annoyance of this is going to push itself to the front of the queue. Quite honestly.
Yep, I do think so. I think we're talking about a show that we were looking at doing, but as we were watching the video and afterwards, we were thinking, yeah, we know what our show's going to be. It's no longer going to be what we thought. It's more, we think it's going to be more a rant.
Unless we talk to Paul and Paul talks us out of it, because that does happen
right.
too. Because sometimes we get real build up and we might.
And the others go, no, and they act as a calming.
It's too negative. It's too negative. But and we have ranted today, and I must admit we have been a little bit negative. So
yep. Which is, I think that's quite rare for us to be so negative.
I think it's valid though. I really do. So, all right.
Yeah.
Voodoo asks, won't the Retaliator need a fourth crew member to handle the bombs or torpedo types loaded for the next attack? Not really, because at the moment they're automated. If you think about it, they're already there and they swing down. So before you even take off, you'll load them in. But once you're actually in the ship, they're automated. They rotate into place. So no.
Yeah. You pick your load out before you go, and then you do your job. And the pilot's taking care of firing the missiles and doing that. So, yep.
Yeah.
B2B farming. My biggest concern about this game is when it comes out, it will be very big, take a long time to meet friends if they're on the other side of the verse. Will they add a feature to help? They've talked about various features to help. One of those is agent smithing. One of those, so that's certainly the only one I can really think of.
Yeah, agent smithing and multiple accounts.
Yep.
I think
they have talked about that type of thing. So yes.
Yeah, and I think they'll cover it. So yeah. All right, Fishy2951. That's asked probably more questions than anyone else today. Final question of the day: how maneuverable do you think the Corsair will be? I think Algared can answer this because he always. I know what he's going to say.
How maneuverable do you think the Corsair will be? The Corsair is supposed to be, according to the design brief was given when they shared in Jump Point. The Corsair is supposed to be more heavily armed in terms of weapons, but have less armor and be less maneuverable than its competitors, i.e., the Constellation and Aquila, and now the 400i. So it's supposed to fly worse than.
I think it'll be faster in a straight line though. So I think it'll be less maneuverable but faster. You kind of almost like a Herald in a way, So and again, I think those turrets are a part of that aesthetic. You know how they were wanting it to shoot sideways and stuff because the ship itself isn't moving, as in maneuvering. It's tended just going to travel in a straight line. I think that it'll go at its target and kind of almost like a Hurricane in a way. You know how a Hurricane kind of does strafing runs? Same thing is what I'm kind of expecting. But again, wait and see. We've seen things come out and they're just like other ships, and what was on paper is completely changed. So
it'll be interesting since you've got that turret down that front loading turret. It'll be interesting to see what the arc is on that turret.
We did talk about that too during the week when it was just me and you when I phoned you earlier. I was saying because essentially if you look at the two ships in their they're kind of damaged state, the Corsair might lose that wing, or say it loses all its wings. It loses missiles, but if those turrets can fire forward, and the chin turret
can
and the pilot weapons and all that type of stuff, it outbeats the Corsair because with the Constellation, it's all four engines pop off. Now that's harder because if you treat it's two things on the Corsair and four things that are being shot off on the Constellation. But once those four are gone, no weapons.
But the other thing is you shoot off the wings on the Corsair. It's still got its engines. You shoot off the guns, the gun mounts, the engines on the Connie, and it's dead in the water.
Yeah.
In fact, you shoot off the bottom engines on a Connie and it's dead in the water because you've taken off its fuel tanks.
Yeah. So essentially, what we were kind of trying to balance was like, you lose the maneuverability on the Constellation and the guns, but it's a little harder to get there because there's four things that are going to be blown off opposed to two, but the Corsair is still going to have its teeth. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that comes into it. But
the other thing I will add to that is, even in that document, it talks about it's supposed to have less exploration equipment than its competitive, than the 400i Aquila. But it doesn't say it's not supposed to have any. It is still an exploration ship. It still has that equipment. So for everyone who just says, no, it's just designed for exploring the inside of other ships, not quite true. It is actually a proper explorer. It's just not as good in some aspects as other ships.
Yeah, and in that conversation, I kind of brought up to Algared. I said it's going to come down to what type of scanner you put on there. You know, you could have something that is better for exploring the inside of hulls, but you could also put, that's what Drake is. It's like, no, you're meant to use it like this, but you can also use it like this.
But that's true of any. But even though other companies don't do that, any ship can be used for nefarious purposes as well as good purposes. So yeah, don't hear me just bagging out Drake and doing that.
All right.
So yeah.
With that, then, thank you for watching.
The voice in the void, who joined us halfway through, is Can. Say hi, Can, or bye, Can.
Yep.
Hello. Goodbye.
Yep. So I'll send our Twitch people over now. But the raid has been created. Cool.
Yep.
All right.
They have been gone.
But for those of you on YouTube, please leave us your thoughts below in the comments. I really want to know what you guys think about the changes to the prison system, because it's thing. But all right, Twitch guys, see you later. Have fun.
Like, subscribe, do all the other stuff, and we're out of here. Take care.
So he's out. This is really weird raiding two places. It's kind of strange. Yeah, so other than that, like the video, like we said, and let us know your thoughts below. We'll probably do a show on it again this week, because I think I just can't believe it's such an oversight on CIG's part. I hope that changes.
Yep.
All right, with that, everyone, it's been Algared, I've been Execute.
He's been Execute, and we're out.
Catch you in the next one.